Ahoy hoy! I'm Planarwalk, and welcome to the open debate. This is taking place on Discord. If you want to join this, you can. Link to my Discord will be in the description. MCToon will be posting links from time to time in the chat for the stream. So you're welcome to join, especially if you're a flat earther. I want to chat, and just make sure you're civil and polite, and things will hopefully go well. I'm just going to switch over to the debate tab. Alright. And unmute myself. There we go. Ahoy hoy, everyone.
Hello.
I see we're joined by Sean Hawkins. Oh yeah, if the chat can let me know how my volume is, that would be perfect.
Sound good.
Okay. Alright, so if anyone knows any flat earthers, feel free to invite them on. I'm sure MCToon will do a good job moderating this. And I've got 790 joining the Discord server. So whilst we're waiting for people to join, essentially this is going to be... Sean's slightly loud. I'll turn him down a bit then, because hopefully that helps.
Was I too loud?
I've turned you down a bit.
Okay.
Hopefully that helps though. So essentially what this is going to be about is it's going to be about gas pressure. That's what I've decided to make the stream about, and hopefully Anthony Riley joins. It'd be nice to talk to him about it.
I turned my output volume down, so I may be soft now.
Okay. It still seems to be somewhat around the same volume. I'll turn it down a bit more on my end, just so that...
Okay. Whatever you feel is best.
People say that it sounds okay to them, so I'll just turn you back to where I had you before. So, yeah, so the claim here is that... I know, if anyone does know any globe deniers to get them to come on, please do invite them, because yeah. Alright, so the claim that we've got is that you can't have gas pressure without a container. And I find that, first I find that ridiculous, of course, but it's even more ridiculous when it comes to the fact that we have a pressure gradient.
Exactly.
And that's a perfect example of having high amounts of gas pressure in one place and low amounts of gas pressure in another place. And it doesn't, the high amount of gas pressure doesn't expand. And we've got Lord Burns has joined us in the chat, in the voice chat.
Hi, Lord. He's muted.
Yeah. I might also...
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say I might also make a roll so that people know whether they're globe earthers or flat earthers.
There you go.
That'd probably help so that people know who's who. But yeah, what did...
Yeah, well, first they started saying, show us air pressure. Next, show us pressure without a container. Well, a wing does that. A wing creates a pressure differential that gives it lift. Also, Venturi does the same thing, and it's not contained. It's just part of the system. So that argument's blown. Then they can't use that.
Yeah, and another one that I've heard is gas pressure. You can't have gas pressure next to a vacuum, and as I said in my most recent video, well, define a vacuum first, because there is no such thing as a perfect vacuum.
Exactly. Have you ever seen how they mirror telescope lenses? How they illuminize them?
No, I don't.
It takes a couple days to reach the vacuum pressure that they use. They use like standard air pumps or vacuum pumps, and then they switch to another way to do it, and they basically just switch methods, kind of like how they developed like way sub-zero temperatures with lasers, where they reduce the temperature so far, and then they switch to a different method. It's the same thing with that, and eventually they used I don't even know what it was. It was like it used a temperature differential to create high pressure with heat, and then cool it down so it sucked away the air.
Okay.
It's amazing, and they have to do it in this huge like autoclave type pressure vessel. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I do know. Oh, go on.
I think that's what they think that space is, and it's not. It doesn't. It's not that sucky. For a better use of the word.
Yeah, essentially flat earthers think that vacuums suck, but they don't suck. They're pretty awesome.
No. They used to have a T-shirt when I was growing up that said, "Gravity isn't real. The Earth sucks."
Okay, I'm actually gonna. I just saw Roy Owen in the chat, who seems to be a flat earther. So, Roy Owen, if you want to come on to the panel, you're more than welcome to. Just join the Discord. Hell, I'll even post a link to it in the chat. Oh, yep, MCToon posted it. And just come on. It's open. Anyone can join. So yeah. Hopefully we get some flat earthers on, because I want this to be more than us just talking about stuff and having no opposing opinion.
Yeah, that would be nice.
And yeah, few people are talking about the Earth's atmosphere extending beyond the moon, and yeah, I recently saw something about that. I think it was last night that I actually found out about that. And yeah, it's called the geocorona, and the geocorona, from what I can tell, is the outermost part of the Earth's atmosphere.
Yeah, I'm not real familiar with that subject. But from what I understand, it's just a big hydrogen cloud that they really didn't understand at the time, and now they've gained a better knowledge of it and released the documentation.
Yeah, it's, as far as I can tell, at its thickest point, or not really thickest point, but its densest point, it's something like Infinite says, last time you blocked me. Did I block you? I can't ever remember blocking you. I've never blocked anyone. I've got Zep Teppy. Ahoy hoy.
But flat earthers are losing their shit over this. They think it's their gotcha.
Yeah, they do, and that's That's what annoys me, because it's so much of it's one of them things which they don't provide any explanation for on. Well, yeah, they say it whilst ignoring observable fact.
Right. Red pill philosophy even went so far as to say, and now they've moved the moon closer.
What?
Yeah,
What?
he actually said that means they moved the moon closer.
Oh, is this because of the geocorona?
Yeah, yeah.
We didn't move the moon closer. Closer. We just
No.
found that the atmosphere extends further than we thought.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just like saying, well, town is the town you live in is, the area you think it is, and then you find out, well, no, the town, the city limit is 20 miles further. Well, nothing's changed except you've just learned a new limit for what you think home is.
So Zep Tepe is stating in the debate lobby text here, he's saying, I'm not sure, but I think Quantum Eraser and Nathan Oakley started this argument about gas pressure, and I'm pretty sure they did. That's why I've invited Anthony Riley to come on if he wants to.
As long as you didn't invite Debbie. Holy cow.
Oh, she's on Jim Panda's server, isn't she?
I don't know. I had a talk with her on Discord.
Mm.
It was something.
Yeah, I've been in a voice chat once with her, and I mean that was how I met Landon Knoll, and so I suppose thanks to Debbie for introducing me to someone who was pretty interesting, but at the same time, she is hard to listen to, and she was actually really disrespectful towards him.
Yeah, she's a piece of work.
And yeah, it's apparently she called up NASA, and then she asked the person questions, and I was just thinking, okay, so you called up NASA and asked the person questions. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. But when it comes to, did you ever think that maybe maybe the person wasn't qualified to ask your questions? They were just they were just someone who's a receptionist. They don't know anything about rockets.
Well, I think they think that everyone who works at NASA is a scientist, and when they find some NASA employee that is spilling the beans on everything, it's probably a janitor. Janitors are NASA employees too, but
yeah. That's why I'm very skeptical of whenever flat earthers claim, oh, this NASA employee says this, and so some people that they quote are quoting what they say, but they're quote mining that person, like the whole blue marble thing.
Yeah, exactly.
The person that says it's faked because it has to be, or it's photoshopped because it has to be, and it's like, yeah. If you've got a composite, of course it has to be photoshopped.
Or they'll quote mine Neil deGrasse Tyson with that stuff looks flat.
Oh,
but
yes.
Then they'll ignore every other time he said that it's round.
And Flat Earth Skeptic in the chat said, like the receptionist at the doctor's. Exactly like the receptionist at the doctor's.
Yeah.
It's...
or they're just like an intern.
I do like what Tusk in the chat says. Janitor, I got sacked from NASA. Time to fleece some idiots.
Write a book. You'll make $1 million.
Yeah. And one person says, "You mean a receptionist isn't qualified to answer questions about astrophysics?"
Yeah. But I mean, they can't deny that there is a pressure gradient. That's proven.
Mm.
So what do they think is past where we don't have any air?
Mm. And yeah, someone pointed out that pressure is a force exerted by the substance per unit area on another substance. The pressure of a gas is the force that gas exerts on the walls of its container. I'll put that in. I'll open original and put that into the. Hi, AB Science in the chat. We've got Repentant Conservative in the chat. Hello, Repentant Conservative. How you doing? Is he muted? Or...
Nope.
Okay. Can't hear you if you're trying to speak. Let me just put this into... There we go. So I've put...
Saw a name, purple rhymes with orange. No, orange rhymes with orange. There's nothing in the rules that says two rhyming words have to be different.
True. Although there's a whole thing that Eminem did, and where he just put a whole lot. Show Wernher van Braun's wiki. Okay, what are we gonna look at with Wernher van? Oh, Wernher van Braun. American-German aerospace engineer. Okay, let's bring that guy up on.
Ooh, he was a Nazi. Ooh.
Oh yeah, didn't wasn't it that a whole lot of America basically took a whole lot of Nazi scientists and then
Yeah, they defected.
yeah. And
offered him a way not to be killed at the end of the war.
yeah.
But yeah, a lot of people change. It's just funny. I mean, I wonder if any flat earthers own Volkswagens.
Yeah. It says here, while in his 20s and early 30s, von Braun worked in Nazi Germany's rocket development program. So yeah, that explains.
He didn't want to get killed.
That explains why NASA would hire him, because rockets are kind of, they're one of the things that they use.
Exactly. My father was an air defense artillery officer, and he relied on the curve of the Earth to do his job.
I always like when flat earthers say that no engineers or anything take curvature into account, and it's like, really?
Yeah. Bridges, suspension bridges. They're plumb. The towers are plumb, but yet they're further apart at the top than they are at the bottom.
Yeah. And there's heaps of cases where curvature was taken into account when they were designing bridges or buildings.
Yep. The trenches that they dug, I guess, pretty elaborate trenches, but the trenches they dug for the LIGO.
Oh, I've got AB Science in the chat as well. Yeah, we hear you. I might turn you up because you're a little bit quiet. Okay, you're cutting out a bit.
Like,
Yeah, he's cutting out.
Hmm. Oh, we've got Unirock 2 in the chat as well. Hey Unirock, how's it doing? Oh, in the live chat, not this chat. Whilst we're waiting for someone to flat earther to join, let's go through a couple of these things here. So it says here involvement with Nazi regime, and it says von Braun had an ambivalent and complex relationship with the Nazi regime of the Third Reich. He applied for official membership of the Nazi Party on November 12th, 1937, and was issued membership number 5,738,692. That's a big number.
Yeah. Means he wasn't the only person. Kind of makes you think that everyone was required to sign up.
so, people
You're still cutting out there, AB Science. I think it is.
But
No,
I'm gonna
no.
You're still cutting out.
say, gonna just find my next one.
Almost comical.
My really set.
Oh, hold up. Also MCToon, I think to mute someone properly, you've got to go server mute rather than yeah.
Yeah, he was cutting bad.
So someone says scroll down to his involvement with Walt Disney. Okay, let's see.
Yeah, I mean, if someone is going to be investigated, I'd say Walt Disney more than Wernher von Braun.
Okay, what? Oh, there we go. Okay, let's see. Actually, if I just type in Disney, that would probably. Okay, Walt Disney and von Braun seen in 1954 holding a model of his passenger ship, collaborated on a series of 3 educational films. Okay, it says von Braun also began working with Walt Disney and the Disney Studios as a technical director, initially for 3 television films about space exploration. I mean, that makes sense if you want to, if you want to, if you want to make a, film about space exploration, it's best to work with someone who's actually in the space agency,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, people change sides every day. I mean, I really don't know what their point is with this.
Especially to save your life,
Yeah.
If
I mean, are they saying that the globe is a Nazi conspiracy?
That would be funny if it was, though.
I know they're on the dark side of the moon. I've seen the dinosaurs.
It's it just, to me, it just doesn't make sense how people just can't conceive of someone who was on the wrong side of history changing sides. It's like, if try and tell me that if you were if we went to war with Russia today, right? And then if we went to war with Russia today, and then Russia won, try telling me that you wouldn't switch sides to save your life.
Yeah.
Because if you do say, "Oh no, I wouldn't switch sides to save my life,"
I mean, I think the whole thing is they're trying to discredit the globe because Wernher von Braun, or they're trying to discredit space by associating it with the Nazis. But if I was going to war, I'd rather have a Panzer tank than anything on the planet back then. I mean, the Germans were excellent at building stuff. They still are. Their engineering skills and design skills are unsurpassed. So, of course, they're going to build good rockets, and that's what we needed to get our people to the moon without blowing them up.
Yeah. Someone was just into the chat there but left. I noticed they entered for a second. But yeah, you make a good point. Like, you know, it's...
And the whole thing with the moon, with going to the moon, is we were at war with Russia, not physically. We were in political war with Russia.
Yeah.
Russia was looking for anything they possibly could find to bring us down, politically, to drop us in stature in the world theater. Now, if you were a country and you had two choices, either don't do it, pretend you're doing it, and then expose the people who are perpetrating a fraud pretending they're doing it,
yeah,
or waste all your money, completely bankrupt your country to pretend you're doing it, to compete with something you know is not true. All they had to do was put a person in NASA, put a person in the government, which they probably already had, just have a spy, take pictures, show us faking it, and then they could expose everything. But no, they went to space first. They had everything riding on this. And because there was no choice. There was nothing to fake.
Yeah, if we had have faked going to the moon, you'd think that Russia would have been like, aha, look, they faked it. And they probably were trying to look for evidence that America faked the moon landing.
Right. And I mean, if it's all fake, why the spacesuits?
True.
If you're going to look good doing it, why, just have them dressed up in a sporty t-shirt, or a three-piece suit, pinstripe, looking dapper. Why the spacesuits? Why fake that part of it? There's so much of the story that they didn't have to fake, but they,
there is one person there in the chat saying, how come we haven't gone back to the moon? And this is someone called Sea Level No Curve Earth. And, he's also welcome to come on to the panel.
Yeah.
We haven't really gotten any flat earthers on the panel.
No, we haven't. Well, one of the main reasons we haven't gone back to the moon is there's no political or financial. There's nothing to gain from it.
Also,
you're still cutting out AB science. But yeah, we're going to go back to the moon in a few years, aren't we?
I think so. They'll probably go back to set up a base, a stopping point, a waypoint on the way to Mars.
SpaceX already sold the first tourist flight around the moon to a Japanese guy and his friends.
Nice.
Awesome. We should set
Roy. Yeah, this Roy Owen is going on about von Braun's tombstone and saying that it has a Bible verse with firmament in it. And I've asked Roy if he knows this is the root of the word firmament, where it came from. And I doubt that he does, because it is a mistranslation. It doesn't mean dome or anything like that.
No, it means sky.
Okay.
It comes from so it comes from the Latin, the Vulgate. That's why King James had it, which the Latin word firmamentum, but that came from the original Hebrew, rakia. Rakia means expanse. So the best translation to English is expanse, and there's the newer translations of the Bible tend to have expanse instead of firmament.
Well, good.
I mean, I have a Bible right here. I think it's the New King James version.
Yeah, that's not going to be. I don't know what that one will say.
It says firmament. I've literally read
the King James the King James uses that. But if you go to like the ESV, which is one that a lot of the people that think that the version of the original text that you use is critical. So the King James people say I don't know, they I forget the word they use, but the ESV uses the same source material, and the ESV does not use firmament. It uses expanse.
And I mean, no matter what, no matter if it says firmament or expanse, there's no standard Christians, no mainstream Christians that believe that the Earth is flat and that there's a dome. It's just the wingnut fake Christians who take the Bible too literally.
Yeah, it's. And also, it seems that we have quite a few flat earthers in the chat, so I'm going to say once again, you're welcome to join the panel. There is a link to the Discord server, so this is supposed to be a debate, but no one's coming on to debate. So, hello, Buoyanator. I mean, I've asked the people on the live chat to debate. I've asked Anthony Riley to debate. No one's coming on. It's strange. It's really strange. You'd think that if they wanted to prove their model, they would come on and prove their model.
Yeah, exactly.
And GeoStribber did make a good point. He said that he'd be very careful calling them fake Christians. You can run into a no true Scotsman fallacy rather quickly, and I do agree with that.
Okay.
And Roy Owen said, "Thank you for showing the wiki page. At least you're open-minded." Oh, someone said something?
Who's that?
Yeah, it was me. Repentant conservative is you very strong.
What was that? Sounded like repentant conservative.
Yeah, I didn't hear what he said. I heard him, but I didn't understand what he said.
Yeah, he cut out. It sounded like he cut out.
Well, greetings.
Yeah. Although one person says, except Scotland, like mountains aren't real. I was actually watching an anime that had Scotland in it. I don't think they called it Scotland. They didn't even call it Britain. They called it Britannia or something, or Britannica or something like that.
Was it 1984?
No,
Is that? No.
it was set in, like, it has a place called Camelot. Oh, hey, Bullionator, how's it going?
Hey. It's going. I just noticed you doing this.
Yeah, I'm
So
trying to...
no flat earthers show up?
Yeah, no flat earthers have shown up. I tried to get Anthony Riley along. He hasn't shown up. So, you know. And I've asked people in the chat. You know, you got flat earthers in the chat saying, "Oh, this, that, and the next thing." And then I say, "Well, come on to the stream, prove your point."
Yeah, come on, guys.
Right. That's why we're here.
No flat earthers are coming. Does a cat earth count?
I mean, Cat Earther is very intelligent compared to all of us.
Hey, just so you know, representative conservative, or repentant conservative, says he's having trouble with his connection and maybe not able to join.
Oh, okay.
It's over a cell signal, so.
Oh.
Okay, fair enough. Universal. Oh, they Zep Tepe said it. They think they're too good to join the panel.
Well, they're not. Got news for them.
Mm. One of the points I did make in today's video is the fact that there is no flat Earth model, and they try and use that to say oh, models are pseudoscience, and it's like, well, you know, if models are such pseudoscience, it should be really easy to come up with a flat Earth model, shouldn't it?
Yeah, that's what's his name, Nathan Oakley's newest thing since his fallout with Bob and them is, well, you know, tools aren't really science. I mean, what's really science? I mean, now he's like completely doing the whole like, oh, what's proof anyway? You know, proof is just a construct. Yeah, he was like on his hands and knees begging for Bob and them to take him back after he blew up.
Oh, okay.
It was great.
Yeah. Platonic is saying, can anybody create a pressurized system within a vacuum without a container on Earth? And
yeah, try Mars, Venus, Jupiter, all the other planets that have atmospheres are examples of the same thing.
Yeah.
Yep. But we can create pressure without a container with a wing or a venturi.
But they'll often say something like that pressure has to have energy put into it constantly, or something like that. And so they'll say it's not obeying the second. They'll say that it's still keeping to the second law of thermodynamics because you're putting more energy in to create that pressure system.
Third law of thermodynamics proves we live in a container. I don't even think he knows what the third law is.
Let's bring up the third law of...
I think the third law is be honest, trustworthy, and help people whenever you can, right? Isn't that it?
I thought it was be prepared, but that's just me.
Yeah. We don't talk about the Boy Scouts.
Okay, third law of thermodynamics states that the entropy of a system is absolute zero. At absolute zero is a well-defined constant. This is because system at zero temperature exists in its ground state, so that its entropy is determined only by the degeneracy of that ground state.
But you forget, Earth is not a closed system. So it doesn't apply.
Yep. Yeah, Earth is. I've heard people say, ask is Earth a closed system? And well, for some
No.
purposes, we can treat it as a closed system.
Biologically, for example, it's a closed system because we're not getting new. But even that's not wholly true because we get radiation, which affects life. We get dusted all the time from space. There's a thin layer always falling on the Earth from space, and that affects the mass, etc., etc.
A closed system doesn't have to be able to transfer zero energy. It just has to be able to transfer some energy.
Yeah, when referring to thermodynamics, we usually refer to an isolated system as a closed system. But
it can still transmit energies outside.
So generally, would refer to the Earth is definitely not an isolated system because there is transference of energy, and it is not a true closed system because there's a bit of transference of atmosphere, of particles, because particles do get lost to space, and we do have things like meteors entering our atmosphere.
And angels.
And angels.
I'm sorry.
that was a good one, though. I think Platonics says something. Platonic says we live in a container. The second and third laws prove this.
So I think that the thing that needs to be said is that gravity is what holds it in. Of course, he'll deny gravity, but we have plenty of proof of that.
Yeah.
So, since it goes to gravity, then Platonic, it's on you to disprove the hundreds and hundreds of proofs of gravity.
I'll bring up an Anthony Riley statement here, which is with gravity. He says, what sort of gravity are we talking about? Are we talking about Newtonian gravity or Einsteinian gravity? You're still cutting out AB Science.
Shoot.
So yeah, they say, are you talking about Einsteinian gravity or Newtonian gravity? And well, Einsteinian gravity is the explanation of how gravity works, but we can still use Newtonian gravity as for simple things. I'm not going to make a program that if I'm going to make a video game, I'm probably not even going to use Newtonian gravity. I'm probably just going to use probably just going to put a downforce into it.
Dropity.
Yeah. That's essentially what video games use. They use dropity. And they say about us playing too many... Flat Earthers say about us playing too many video games and all that. And we've got the Rumpus here as well. How's it going, Rumpus? He's muted.
Hello.
Oh, hi, Rumpus. How's it going?
I've managed to dislocate my shoulder, so I'm feeling a bit fed up at the moment. So, personally, yeah, that more painful than breaking an arm. So that's so I've got a bit of a loose end. So I can't type really at the moment. So I thought, so I saw that Planer was doing something interesting, and you were talking about an interesting subject, the second law and everything, and the pressure thing. And someone was saying earlier that you couldn't have. Their main argument is, of course, this container business, and someone was saying earlier that a wing or something acts like a generator pressure. But I don't think that's in the spirit of contradicting, because they're claiming that you can't have a physical body you have to have a physical body. Now, whether that's a wing, it's effectively acting. A wing is a sort of effectively acting like a container. There's a physical force being applied by the wing in effect to the particle. So, whereas they have this problem, of course, that gravity. I mean, if you said to them, for instance, if every little molecule had a charge on it, and that the Earth was positively charged and all the molecules in the atmosphere are negatively charged, I think they might then start to understand how it works with gravity. But I don't think anybody's presented with that argument. Of course, you never get a chance when I've been on the Nathan show. Of course, you don't get more than about 3 seconds or about 5 words into a sentence or explanation before you get censored, muted, and kicked. But one model that someone might present them, whoever man gets a chance to get a sentence out, is that consider all the molecules in the atmosphere to be, say, negatively charged and the Earth positively charged. What do you think would happen? And of course, the answer is that all the molecules would congregate. In the marvelous Mick West simulations, of course, that he's done, which I'm hoping to emulate myself as well. There's little models where he's shown he's got some little multi-particle models, I think on his website, where you can have a gravity he puts in a multi-particle system, and you can see how sort of all. I think Anthony Riley saw this and then misunderstood what was being presented. But the point is, he gives a lovely demo in his software of what happens when there is an attractive force. Now, they of course denied gravity. They don't understand the concept, but I think if you expressed it in terms of charge, they might just be able to pick up what's going on here. That if there's a force being applied to every molecule, as occurs with gravity, pulling it towards the Earth, all these little molecules are going to be competing with one another to get as close to the Earth as possible. And that inevitably, if you follow the maths, follow the Boltzmann distribution, you will inevitably end up with a density gradient. And the other thing that invalidates the thing is they say that you can't have. They go on about this pressure without a container. Well, that's also effectively the same thing as saying, how do you have a pressure gradient without a container? So if you just say take the pressure, 6 foot 6 foot high and then 12 high, you've got a pressure difference. From their logic, their whole argument is based upon the fact that the high pressure fluid will go into a low pressure area. So how do you therefore account for the fact that the high pressure, which I think they accept exists, there is a pressure gradient, I think they accept that. How come the high pressure at the low altitudes is not shooting up to the medium level altitude? There's no container there. So there should be a flow of air from the high pressure area to the low pressure area, according to their theory. It's clearly not happening. And that's effectively the same. Expressing that is effectively invalidating their whole argument. There's no container there, so they got something to explain without a container where we've got a high pressure system. In effect, if you want to draw a line, you've got a high pressure below one particular line and a low pressure above a particular line. So how do you explain that's going on? There you have the proof you're looking for of a difference in pressure without a container. There it is in your face.
Yeah.
So.
And that's why I say that flat Earth disobeys the second law of thermodynamics.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, if someone is able to get an actual engagement with these people, as I say, with Nathan, or I had a couple of debates with these people, but I've never actually had a chance to debate. I was helping Jem Panda talking about this issue, about 6 months ago on the Non Sequitur show, but I've never actually managed to physically get onto the subject without having someone like Nathan be able to mute me. But yeah, one day I'll try and engage some of these people in debates. But there are several really strong arguments you can make that if you can get a sentence out, completely invalidates their position. It's pretty easy to do, really. But just gravity, it pulls on the molecules. There's a force there. If you've got a force on something, it's going to draw it towards it. It's very simple.
Yeah. Although
I've tried.
Oh, what was? Someone was saying something. Oh, we can
sorry. Yeah, that was me. Yes, I am now on my phone rather than using my desktop Discord application. That seems to be the problem.
Yay!
So I'm in. Yes, I've had a conversation with Nathan Riley and Quantum Eraser before this in the comments channel on one of my videos, and in the video I actually describe how the second law of thermodynamics requires that the atmosphere sticks to the surface, and I do this all in terms of potential energy and all of that, but they do just spiral and end up in just semantic arguments and straw manning, and it's almost pointless to have that discussion with them. But on the other hand, when you do that publicly, other people can see the discussion and realize that these guys are fucking idiots.
Ding.
Yeah.
We've got conspiracy cats in the live stream chat.
Oh, good old conspiracy cats. Yes, because as he's pointed out, with the Boltzmann distribution, there's a simple equation that gives you the pressure, at a particular height, dependent on the temperature and the Boltzmann distribution gives you a very simple equation of what you expect to find at different heights. And I think because they don't understand basic science or logic, and I don't think it's been put to them in quite the brutal terms that I just did earlier about, if you consider a boundary in the atmosphere, you've got a high pressure system next to a low pressure system. How do you explain that? I don't think anybody's put it in quite that brutal way. They've sort of not quite confronted them. Of course, it's difficult to do that in their environment. You need to get them into an impartial area where you can engage them with the actual argument, and then demolish them. But there's another point AB was making there. You said, you are. So how are you? What's your argument for entropy? You've actually done the equations, or have you, to show that entropy leads to a? Or you just took the Boltzmann distribution distribution?
It's a more hand-wavy way of doing it. You can, because the ideal gas law, the nRT bit, that's an energy, right? So, and on the left-hand side, we've got PV.
It's an energy because it's temperature, you mean?
The dimensions of nRT, that product, dimensions of that is energy. And on the left-hand side, you have PV. So that shows that if you divide both sides by V, that shows that pressure is nRT over V, which is an energy density, an energy per unit area. Now, that shows volume. That PV, per unit volume. Yeah, thank you. So that shows that, if pressure is energy, that means that there is, pressure is energy density, then there is an energy involved. And when there's an energy, there is an energy gradient. There is a potential. And then combine that with the gravitational potential, you add the two potentials together and you realize that the gas molecules tend to sit at the bottom of that potential well, because that's what the second law of thermodynamics requires. There's an alternative statement which doesn't involve entropy. And that is the principle of minimal potential energy. And that tells us that any particle in a system likes to minimize the potential energy of itself.
I'm not sure that's a function of entropy, is it?
That's a function of entropy, because entropy is a measure of the unavailability to do work. And potential energy represents the energy available to do work.
Oh, lost you. Or have I lost me?
I don't know.
All right, I can hear you again. Great. Sorry, that might be me lost. I
don't know. Did everyone catch that last bit?
I heard what you're saying about energy and that, and I'm actually just gonna have a look at something because
entropy is fundamentally trying to find something will find the state. The most probable state. So, for instance, chemical reactions, for instance, they don't necessarily go with what produces energy. They go with what will produce the most probable state. In other words, it's a bit like the classic way of describing entropy is, say, imagine if you have 100 coins. All tails up, and then you jiggle you put them on a table or in a container or something, and then you jiggle the container. What do you think would happen after a bit of jiggling? What would be the orientation of the coins? And the answer was the most probable orientation, and you would find that on average 50% would be up and 50% down, and you would have to put energy in to make it all up or all down, and that's what entropy basically is. It will find the most probable, and that's the reason that's most probable is that's the most ways you can orientate things. If you work out the probability, there are many more ways of having those coins 50-50 up than there is to them all being one way up. And that's but I think you make a good point with the entropy is a measure of the and certainly so another there are lots of ways of defining entropy, like the number of microstates. There are about 3 or 4 different ways, and you make another good one with the unavailability to do work is another good definition.
Because what you're referring there with the coins, that's the number of microstates, and that's the statistical mechanics approach. However, I find that the less intuitive approach to describing entropy and what it means for the universe. It's because you have to go into partition theorem and all of that, and it's hairy. And I've, concepts such as the potential to do work that it communicates a more intuitive definition of entropy.
Yes, I'd agree with that. Yeah.
And because the other way, you have to take the statistical mechanics approach. That's for most universities. That's a third-year physics module, right? And we're talking to people who struggle with 1 + 1.
Yeah, but I think the way I described it there about the way I described it with coins is very easy. I think even for an idiot like the flatties to possibly like be on them. Just say if you have 50 coins, work out what the probability is by just saying what's the most probable combination. I suppose that's probably a bit beyond them actually, but the idea is that they know, even if they can't work out the probability, they know that if they had 50 coins in a container one way up, and they jiggled the container, they know that no matter how long, I think they've got an intuitive understanding if they jiggled the container for even an extraordinarily long time, the chances of those coins ever being around that orientation again would be 0. Whereas they know that they're generally going to find them a 50-50. So there's some advantages in that approach, but I would agree that statistical mechanics, if you want to know Boltzmann's entropy, S is equal to K log the number of microstates, you're going to get into trouble.
Yeah, precisely. And it's also how that relates to energy is also then very interesting.
What's 2?
It's very difficult to how that the
answer 1 + 1
relates to.
Why is someone shouting out 1 + 1 is equal to 2?
I think
someone asked what 1 + 1 is earlier.
Right, I see.
But
I'm just proving I'm not a flat earther.
Right.
Good point.
Yeah, and the other thing, the example, of course, that people like Nathan and others present is the Joule-Thomson effect, in effect, where you have one container with a high pressure and a low pressure, and then explaining why of course, they're incapable of quantifying this. They can't put numbers to this, but there is a you can say the entropy of a gas in one container, and you open up a boundary between that and a vacuum. You can actually put numbers to this and say the entropy in the one state. Someone's doing the meal, someone's preparing a meal or something, and then you open up the gate between. What is going on? Someone's clearing their desk or something, and then you open up the container. You can actually put numbers on what is the most probable thing, the most probable what will happen, and you can put numbers to the entropy of those two situations. So now, what is someone scraping with?
I think it might be Sean Hawkins.
Sean, yes, yeah, Sean. I think you're doing something scrapey.
Oh,
noisy.
apparently that's me.
All right. So the point is you can put numbers to these things, and this. There are about 3 or 4 arguments you can attack this pressure without a container business with. I think the most powerful one then is to just say that you can actually, in reality, see there is a pressure gradient, and with the pressure gradient, how come that's not being neutralized? Therefore, you have to accept that the whole argument you're presenting about pressure without a container is invalid, because you can see that in effect the same. It's no different to saying why is there a difference between one pressure and another that's not being equalized. So silly people, very silly people. Of course, if you want to believe something hard enough and you're stupid, then that's the ideal combination. If you're not constrained by your knowledge of science or reality or logic or geometry. I mean, these people don't even understand trigonometry. I mean, Arwin and Anthony Riley and half the others. I just suspect Mark Sargent. I mean, Bob doesn't seem to understand. I mean, Bob and the Globebusters. They thought the light bent the other way. They thought that if you've seen the tanks with laser going through them, that the light bends down. They thought that meant that the refraction in the atmosphere would cause things to raise up. It's just because they can't even do the simple. It's just incredible what they can't do. And of course, it's not. If the light bends down, it means that things are raised up, not lowered, raised up in effect, so you can see around the curve to some degree with a certain amount of refraction. Not the other thing. I mean, these people are not constrained by logic, and when you're not constrained by logic or reality or understanding of maths or science or thermodynamics or God knows what, you'll then got free reign with your imagination and what you want to believe. And if you find it all very confusing, and you hate all these people who seem to be cleverer than you and can understand everything, and they're telling you these things and you don't understand what they're talking about, then the best, your ego is obviously somewhat suppressed. So the thing you do to build up your own ego, I know I'm going to believe this thing, and they're all stupid. It's a way of it's a drive for ego.
And that's essentially what it is, isn't it?
I'm gonna bounce, guys.
Okay, see you, Sean.
Later. Good talk.
Yeah, but that's essentially what it is. It's it's essentially they want to believe that the Earth is flat, and I think people like Nathan Oakley, who have shows that, or his livelihood depends on him believing in the Earth being flat, and if he were to say, "Oh, I don't believe that the Earth is flat anymore," he'd probably lose a decent portion of his audience.
Yeah, but I think it's more to do with. I think, but I don't think it's just driven by income. I think these people, it's more a case. Most of the people, I think Mark Sargent's an example. He's a conspiracy theorist. The thing is, the flat Earth stuff is just one of their problems. It's not their major problem. They just don't. They believe. I mean, for instance, the flat Earth thing. You've got to believe that about 50% of the population out there are telling you lies. All of science, geography, astronomy, the government, teachers, half the people you meet are telling lies to you, and they're poisoning you with chemtrails or something. I mean, the Mark Sargents and others, they all believe in chemtrails and stuff. These people believe that society's out to get them, and they want to feel as though because they're confused by society, they don't understand politics, they don't understand science. So if you're in that position and you basically feel a bit dim, and everyone else around you seems as though they understand what's going on and you don't, then just there's a drive there's an incentive for you to think, how can I make myself feel better? How can I increase my own self-worth? And the thing is, you think they're all wrong, I'm going to see some deeper truth, they're all wrong, they're a bit silly, and I'm a bit more brighter than them. I haven't accepted all this rubbish. I've taught myself, I can see I've got insight that they don't, therefore I'm cleverer than they are, therefore I've improved my own sort of feeling of self-worth. And I think that's what drives, hence almost all of them believe in conspiracy theories as well. The flat Earth thing is merely one symptom of a whole underlying problem of inadequacy.
Yeah, and I think you hit a very important word there, and that's the self-worth and inadequacy. Now, this is something I've been, I've observed in, people. A person who used to be a member of my family, and she was not. She was not happy with her lot in life, and what happened was that she sank down to this rabbit hole of conspiracy theories and stuff, and that made her happier. It gave her gratification because with these conspiracy theories, then there is the faceless them that can be to blame. It's them pushing me down, because then they can be a victim, and what they feel their own inadequacies, or what they perceive their own inadequacies to be, they can shift accountability and they can blame it on someone else, so they don't have to do any serious introspection to try and address their issues.
Yeah, and you don't have to face up to how stupid you are as well. I mean, if I were in their position, if I didn't understand science and maths and geometry and trigonometry, which is the case almost all these flat earthers, some of them understand a little bit of geometry. There's a couple of examples of people, but most of them don't understand the sort of thing the reasonably intelligent people understood when they're about 13 or 14. And so if you're in that position where you understand less than a 13 or 14-year-old, you're going around feeling pretty miserable about life, basically. You can just about use your iPhone and a couple of other things. You don't really understand what's going on the TV and politics or whatever else, and you don't understand all these scientific equations. You don't understand maths. You're confused by everything. So you've got to. And if I was in that position, I'd feel pretty depressed. And you're forced. If you're feeling depressed and put upon, you go to desperate measures. And if you see one route to enhancing your self-worth, feeling you're a bit brighter than you thought you were, and these other people are stupid and you're not, and you felt crushed by them, you become a bottom of class for God knows how many years, then you get an example, think, I am brighter than them, I have more insight. They're stupid, they've been led astray, they're just sheep, they're not thinking I'm an individual with my own self-respect, self-worth, and I've got something they don't understand. That there's an incentive, if you're stupid, to go down that line.
And there was actually a time when I believed in a few conspiracy theories, and
oh my God, oh dear.
But I didn't end up going down that rabbit hole. I just sort of it was just a thing of I looked at the world and realized that there was a whole lot wrong with it, and I kind of thought, well, let's blame the ominous, nameless, faceless they.
That's an important, yes, that's a good point actually, because I think appreciating that basically the cock-up theory of history and everything else is that we're not imperfect beings, and there's an imperfect world, and stupid things happen, unequal things happen, unfair things happen, and you've got to understand that that's what, life is just random, and you're looking, like a religious person, this is why there's a religion, religious people are looking for some simple answers to the way things work, and it's a very complicated, entropy-based, probability-based, random sort of behavior of this world, and it looks very complicated, and it is very complicated the way things work. And so if you're trying to the reason we're humans, we're looking for patterns and things that we can work out. So for instance, our Stone Age ancestors worked out, looking for patterns in things, and the people who are most able to see patterns in the world were able to work out how how to make bronze and seasons and things, and so it's really advantageous for the human mind to see patterns, and so where they exist, but unfortunately that outlook is trying to find patterns in where there are no patterns, and an explanation. So it's been evolutionary advantageous to have that view of the world, but unfortunately there's a limit to how far you can take it, and ultimately, as we know, right down the quantum level of things, the side of it is just it's all random. But there are some manifestations.
Yeah, because the thing is, there's also something very satisfying about these conspiracy theories, as you touched on. It's because it represents order. Someone's in charge, and it's far more satisfying than a reality. Because they think that all these politicians are all in cahoots, and there's a super smart
control,
kind of in control, ultimate level of control. Now, the amount of brain power that is required to achieve that is astonishing. But if that is in place, that's far more satisfying. And the reality is that these people are incompetent.
Yeah, exactly. It's incompetence. It's incompetence is the thing that is all over the shop. Absolutely.
Yeah, because with conspiracy theories, our elected representatives are, the friendly face of the man. Whereas in reality, our elected representatives are actually just continuously letting us down, because they tell us that they are competent, they are the best person for the job, and then as soon as they take office, they're fucking up left, right, and centre.
Yeah, because life is complicated. I mean, NASA, this idea that NASA could possibly have exercised this fraud upon us and have 1 million people, or whatever it is, how many connected to it, need to know in various aspects that they weren't doing a real job or they were actively engaged with it, and not one of them has come forward to say, actually I synthesized this, we have this set, or I made up these pictures, or I made up this little bit of this rocket that didn't really do anything, or whatever, or we didn't really test that. You could not. Humans are not like this. They burst forth with the truth eventually. Someone somewhere, when they're retired, will burst forth with all the secrets. Certainly in a free society, will come forth. And for God's sake, the number of bloody things that come forth and say our freedom, our democratic societies, as a big lie as that, wouldn't last a second.
Yeah. But so there's actually an equation. I can't remember where it is. Maybe Planarwalk, you can do a little Google search, see if you can find it. But there is actually an equation which describes the probability of failure for a conspiracy theory. And the largest factor in
cube of the number of people who know it or something.
The number of people that know it. And
to the power of 5 or something, I suspect.
Yeah, it's something ridiculous. But if we look back at prison, right, which is, I suppose you could class this under the conspiracy hat. This involved very few people, and it took a 23-year-old temp worker to walk into the NSA, copy a load of stuff onto a flash drive, and walk up to a Guardian journalist and go, there you go, there's a massive conspiracy going on. Everyone should know about it, right? He was a temp.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. It's just amazing, the idea that you see, that also suggests these people don't understand, not only do they not understand science and logic, they don't understand people either. I mean, they don't understand anything, basically. They don't understand how people work. The fact that people will blurt out these things, and the number of conspiracies they require to come together to have someone like NASA exercising a fraud upon us or deception upon us is just so ridiculous. And the moment's thought for any semi-intelligent, semi-conscious person means that you should be able to invalidate this. I suppose you've got your David Ickes and things who probably do half believe and require it for their money purposes, they have for their financial gain, who probably don't believe what they're saying. But these people are just stupid and desperate, socially inadequate.
Yeah,
that's what it comes down to. And so sometimes and of course the other thing, of course, the key thing is when you're arguing with them. And the example I was having about arguing about the air pressure thing. Unfortunately, because they're a bit stupid, that actually is a defense they've got, because you can't then use reason and logic and evidence against them, because they don't recognize the things the weapons that you're equipped with are no good on a stupid person, because they're just saying, no, that's not true. Not quite to the level of 1 + 1 = 2, but almost things are not. Trigonometry, for instance, they have a big problem with. So when you're at that level, and the explanation you were describing about potential, they don't understand what potential energy is. They don't understand what potential energy is. So you can't use that argument. You have to do it in a sort of, as you were saying, an intuitive level to get through to them, because they are stupid.
Yeah, I am working on a series of videos that are actually going to, aim to derive all of classical mechanics just from Noether's theorem and the second law of thermodynamics, which is possible. But I was having this discussion with Anthony Riley, and he's failing to recognize, like, he's there thinking that he can somehow tell me that I'm completely wrong in my interpretation of physics, blah 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 blah. He pulls out all these examples written by people who have PhDs, and
he misunderstands them. I mean, he cannot read something without
he misunderstands them. And then
this is amazing.
Arguing.
Sorry to interrupt you, but his inability to actually comprehend relatively simple sentences suggests to me that he has great difficulty. Well, he claims to have got a law degree, but I find it very difficult, because his logic and his ability to comprehend simple sentences is extraordinary. I had about a year now before he went to that Flat Earth conference in was it London or wherever. He had a debate with him, and it became apparent he didn't understand, for instance, Newton's third law, that every action has an equal opposite reaction. He didn't understand the concept of opposing forces neutralizing one another. So, for instance, he doesn't understand buoyancy. So he thinks that, for instance, when there's all this relative density thing, he's got an idea, and that when you put a tomato or whatever it is in his favorite example being a sort of 7 or 8 layers of dense liquids on top of one another, he doesn't understand that. He thinks that the gravitational force on something disappears when you put it into another liquid, not ignoring the fact that, of course, that if you then you could weigh the column or the whatever it's like, the chemical, the glass column. You could then stick the tomato in it and then remove it, and then demonstrate that the weight has indeed the physical forces are. He doesn't understand basically a tug of war, that you can have two opposing forces that come to zero. He can't understand this concept, and so I was saying he doesn't understand that the tomato still weighs as much as tomato weighs when you stick it in this liquid. You can take it out and measure the weight of the thing you're sticking in, and show that indeed the weight is not disappearing. The gravitational attraction of an object is not disappearing because you're sticking it in some other liquid where there is a buoyant force. It's still there because you can measure the weight of thing. But of course, I mean, again, you don't get the chance really to engage with these people in a sort of an impartial environment.
No, it's but it's also a complete. What he does a lot. I've noticed that more and more. That he does appeal to authority a lot. So he will reference an article written by someone who's got a PhD, but he misunderstands the article. And I'm not saying that the article's wrong. It's just his understanding of it that's wrong.
Yeah.
And I was having this discussion with him at one point where he was telling me, because I was talking about the metric tensor in general relativity. It's all complicated stuff, but at a small scale, that reduces down to
tensor. Now you're
gravitational potential energy. But he sits there telling me that I'm completely wrong. What's at the same time? I'm having coffee with half of the LIGO team. So, and I've told him that, but he'll still carry on, insisting he's right.
Sorry, did you just say you have coffee with the LIGO team?
Yes, my department has got a large the audio analysis of the data from LIGO is analysed on our supercomputers, and we have a group of astrophysicists who are in charge of that.
So you're a physicist, are you?
Yes.
Right. I see. Actually in a university or something?
Yes.
Right, a graduate presumably.
So nearing onto the end of my second year PhD.
Oh right, okay, yeah. I thought you had a very good understanding of things. I thought, hold on, is this guy a PhD in physics? And right, okay, you have doing one, right? Okay, yeah, okay. Just thought your arguments are very accurate, and then when you start introducing the idea of a metric tensor in general relativity, I was thinking this is a chap who understands what he's talking about.
Yeah, it's my thing. I mean, the whole general relativity side and the astrophysics side, I kind of stay away from that. I've avoided that for most of my physics life as much as possible. But I do find myself having to read up on things like this now, and I've kind of entered the foray of the flat Earth debate, and it's nice because it's actually pushing me into reading about stuff.
It does. Even if you're as obviously as well educated as you are, it's still a new skill you need to acquire to be able to reduce the complicated things you do understand into very simple ideas, and it's a test of your ability to understand something. The fact that you can express it in simple terms. I think Einstein did something along the lines. If you can express very complicated ideas in simple terms to someone who's just simply intelligent but ignorant of the issues, that demonstrates your understanding is good. Oh my God, we've got the idiot himself here.
Hello, Anthony Riley.
Hello.
Rumpus, we meet again, sir.
Yes, that would appear. Yes. I was just slagging off your misunderstanding of buoyancy and third law of Newton's third law, etc., and your misunderstanding of pressure and God knows what else.
Buoyancy? What's buoyancy? Is it a mathematical construct?
No, this is another problem you've got, Anthony, is you seem to think that because maths can describe something, therefore it's just maths. No, maths describes things. It doesn't dictate them. Just like, for instance, the trajectory of something, we can describe that mathematically with a very simple equation. We can say, this is what the path of an object will follow. Do you think that the maths is dictating to that object what it's going to do, or simply describing it?
Well, it certainly isn't proving it, is it?
No, it's describing, but you can test how good it is.
I'll give you.
Right, excellent. Right, you've understood it now. So the math's describing reality, and when we can use
it doesn't prove it. Though,
hold on. Let me finish. And it can predict what will happen in other circumstances. And when we find
who cares? Can it prove anything?
Hold on. Yeah, but that's the whole of science. This is another thing you don't understand. Here's a good question for you, actually, Anthony. If I 1,000,000 times I drop something in a vacuum chamber and it falls to the ground, does that prove that it will do it on the 1,000,000th and first time?
Can you just answer my question before I answer yours?
Okay.
Does maths ever prove anything?
Yes.
The reason I followed on with my question is I was going to demonstrate to you the problems of proving things. But I'll still answer your question, even though my question effectively was an effective answer. But maths can prove other maths, but it can't prove what reality does. But my question to you will demonstrate to you a good answer and hopefully an insight that will open in your mind as to what the real issue is that's confusing you. So if you could answer my question again, if you drop something 1,000,000 times in a vacuum chamber and it falls to the ground, do you think that that proves that it will fall on the 1,000,000th and first time?
Just for the benefit of the audience, just remember what he said, that maths doesn't prove what reality does. Just remember he said that, because that's going to come important at some point, I'm sure.
Okay, great. Okay, we'll remember that. Now, if you can answer my question.
So if you answer 1,000,000 times, does it mean that there's 1,000,000? Well, you've got 1,000,000 to 1 chance that you'd be wrong.
No. You've missed. Okay, you clearly can't understand what I asked you because you're stupid. Let's try it again. If you drop something,
let's not add on.
Let's not add on. Yeah, well, but you missed. You didn't even manage to repeat my question properly. If you drop something, say a ball for 1,000,000 times in a vacuum chamber and it falls to the ground, does that prove that if you drop it the 1,000,000th first time that it will fall to the ground?
No. That's not
correct.
Proof, no.
Excellent. Exactly. And that's why science can't prove it. Because for all we know, there could be invisible green pixies that are doing it, and they may switch off.
Hang on, whoa. What do you mean science can't? What did you just say? That's why science can't prove what?
It can't prove it because it's based on induction. And this is your fundamental misunderstanding.
That's not true.
It is. That science is based on induction, which is effectively what I've just described. Science
it isn't
says
based on induction. That's
no, you don't understand what induction is then. The example I just gave to you. No, you don't, because you answered correctly the bit about the thing falling in a vacuum chamber. And if you understood the consequences of what I just said, you would see that science can't prove that something falls because we don't know that invisible green fixes. Hold on, let me just finish a second. That's what science is. Induction. It takes these things that we see happen repeatedly, and as far as we're concerned, there are no violations of those rules, like something falling to the ground in a vacuum chamber, and therefore science says, we can predict what will happen according to equations, but we can't prove it mathematically because that is a deductive process. That's a deductive process. So hold on, I've nearly finished. I've nearly finished, Anthony. You don't understand what induction is, which is to take from the specific examples of something happening, saying, okay, here's what we perceive as the pattern. We'll now try and apply an equation to that or formula for that behavior, and we're going to assume that that's going to be correct until we find a violation. That's how science works. It's based on induction.
That's not how science works.
It's exactly how science works.
That is exactly how science works.
That's not how science works.
Science at best.
Who am I speaking to there?
AB Science.
AB Science. So are you a science background? Do you understand how the scientific method works?
Yes.
Right.
And
so
scientific method is only part of science, Anthony. You don't understand
it's the only part of science that's important. Everything else
it isn't.
Without experimentation,
okay,
all
Anthony,
the parts are fairy tales.
Hold on, Anthony. This is an observation. You know what I just did about talking about the bar falling? That's an observation. All I did was drop a bar. Are you going to deny that as science then? That's an observation.
An observation is not science.
So we can ignore the fact then that bars drop every single time we put them in a vacuum chamber.
In the same way we can ignore that maths proves something.
Okay, gentlemen, you both interrupted AB Science. Why don't we let him continue?
Thank you. I was fine with being interrupted at that point, but I just do want to finish the point, is that science cannot prove anything. Science can only disprove.
No, that's rubbish. What's your citation for that, please?
That's absolutely true.
Citation, please. Okay, prove that point. Your claim is that science cannot prove something. I can prove it can. What is your citation that science proves nothing?
How can you prove that?
Right. Well, first off, we have to establish what science proves. What does science do?
It doesn't prove anything.
It does. It proves the cause of an effect.
No, it doesn't, you idiot, because there could be multiple causes. No, Anthony, think about this. Imagine there's some invisible green pixies that are wandering around the universe, very small, that push things towards the Earth or any gravitational body. You can't disprove that. So therefore, you cannot prove gravitation. You can only say from induction that it seems extremely likely that things fall towards gravitationally large bodies. We cannot prove that.
So you don't agree that science is a cause and effect relationship that you do prove?
You can't prove it. You can't prove
rubbish.
it. You can only say
it's citation for that,
likely.
please.
Everybody knows this, Anthony. Your ignorance, I'm afraid, is no basis for an opinion.
Citation for that point, please.
Everybody knows this, Anthony. Everybody who's got any brain.
You're claiming science proves nothing. I can prove that science does prove something. It's called the cause. I want your citation that science proves nothing.
Everybody who's got a brain knows this, Anthony.
I don't care about an appeal to consensus.
You're an idiot, I'm afraid. It's very difficult to prove things to idiots.
So you've made an assertion that science proves nothing, and I'm asking you to prove that point with a citation. Can you do it or not?
At the moment, I'm afraid I've got a sophisticated shoulder and have difficulties in the computer. Perhaps AB Science can come up with a sort of philosophical citation.
a citation. I haven't.
But I mean, no, I haven't got it to hand. But I mean, anybody who's got any common sense can see what I said was true. You don't know that invisible green pixies are not doing what I just said. Logically, you should be able to see that as a valid argument. If you can't see it as a valid argument, you're just even more of an idiot than I thought you were.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
They're visible. How are they green?
All right. So Planarwalk. Would you? Okay. Planarwalk.
Sorry.
So I just posted a link, which I'm going to put up on screen, saying that there's no such thing as proof in the scientific world. There's only evidence.
Thank you.
Right. Proof in science is cause and effect.
You can't prove cause and effect, you idiot. This is a well-established philosophical
where's
point.
this link, Planarwalk?
I put it in. I put it in the debate lobby text.
Okay, that's where I've put mine.
God, you're a moron.
Right, that's from Forbes, right?
Yeah.
Is Forbes more or less credible than a university citation that I've cited underneath?
It was just one of the first results that I got when I searched.
Right, so answer my question. Is Forbes more or less credible than the citation that I've presented from a university?
I'd say less credible, but I haven't fully read your thing yet, so...
That's okay. So as long as we can agree that Forbes is less credible than my citation from a university, we're good. Let's open up my citation.
Yeah, I'm bringing it up right now. I've got my phone going off quite a bit. But yeah, so we've got here Introduction to the Scientific Method. And it says about testing hypothesis. Let me...
Sorry, Anthony, in the link that you posted in part 1, the scientific method has 4 steps. It is often said that, it's often said in science that theories can never be proved, only disproved.
But we're not talking about theory, we're talking about cause and effect.
But you have to demonstrate that's true, you idiot. You have to philosophically show that's logically
That's why we have science, Rumpus.
But Anthony, can you not understand Anthony, can you not understand the logic of the argument I just presented? How do you know that invisible logic?
I'm not interested in logic.
Okay, that sums you up. Yeah, that sums you up nicely. Can you not see the logic of the argument I presented? That you don't know that invisible green pixies are doing it all the time. You can't prove that's not the case.
I'm not going to let you.
If you can't prove that's not the case, then you should be able to see. How can you not see this argument, Anthony? I mean, you're more stupid than I thought here. If you can't see that's a valid argument.
Right, Rumpus, take turns, make a point, and then stop. Let me respond to it when I object. Your claim is that logic and reason is some kind of credible explanation for science, correct?
It's based on logic and reason, yes.
Let's go through my citation that I brought up. Let's turn to the final paragraph, which is entitled Conclusion. I'll read verbatim. Stick it on screen if you would, sir. The scientific method is intrinsically associated with science, the process of human inquiry that pervades, that means continuously exists, the modern era on many levels. While the method appears simple and logic in description, there is perhaps no more complex question than that of knowing how we came to know things. In this introduction, we've emphasized that the scientific method distinguishes science from other forms of explanation because of its requirement of systematic experimentation. Not logic and reason, Rumpus. Systematic experimentation. Do we all understand the difference?
No, you don't
understand. You have to experiment. You can't use logic and reason, Rumpus. That's not enough.
Anthony, but we do use logic and reason to inform our experiments.
Yes.
You see, you don't understand causation.
Well, yeah, logic and reason forms your hypothesis. It's the experimentation that proves the cause of the effect.
You're working on a level of a 13-year-old in comparison to me. It's really difficult.
No, you're working on the level of a pseudoscientist that's preaching nonsense to people that don't know the difference between real science and fake science.
Do you understand that cause and effect is a deep philosophical issue? And understanding what...
No, it's not philosophical. It's empirical.
You should be able to understand...
Rumpus, it's empirical. It's not philosophical.
Can you not see that invisible green pixies could be doing things and you can't discount them? Can you not see that as an argument, you idiot?
Right, but if invisible green pixies are doing something, you can't prove that they're causing anything, can you?
Exactly, you can't prove it. Yes, well done, you've got there.
Right, but we're not doing that in science, are we? We're demonstrating what does cause something.
You don't know that invisible green pixels are not doing everything, you idiot.
Why are you speaking over me when I try and respond?
Go on, go on, have a go.
If invisible green pixies are doing something, we can't prove that invisible green pixies are doing anything in science because we can't prove that invisible green pixies exist. However, however, the scientific method requires that you prove the cause and the effect.
No, it doesn't.
That's simple. Yes, it does. It absolutely does.
It does not prove. There are people in science who deal with these issues who understand it, which you don't. You cannot prove things in science because you cannot disprove such things as invisible green pixies. You can't disprove.
So when we say that there is an assumed cause or a presumed cause of an effect, you don't think that's you don't think that's science?
That is science because science is based on induction and correlation.
No, science is based on a method. It proves the cause
which
of an effect.
Involves using induction.
You're a pseudoscientist, Rumpus. You're fake science.
No, you don't understand anything. You're the level of a 13-year-old. This is ridiculous. Even though you sort of understand that invisible green pixies could be doing this, you don't understand that invalidates. We cannot prove things. You can only prove things in maths. Where you start.
No, that's not true. Maths doesn't. You said it yourself, Rumpus. What was the quote that you said?
I said that it doesn't prove anything of reality, but you can prove other maths with maths.
No, you can't prove anything with maths, Rumpus. If you've got two ice creams, right? Listen, if you've got two ice creams,
you're mixing up reality and maths here, Anthony. If I can prove
I'm not mixing up reality and maths, Rumpus. You are. You're telling people that maths proves something, and that's not true.
You should be able to understand what I'm about to say. Maths can say, if I can prove that 1 + 1 is equal to 2, I can then go on to prove that 1 + 2 is equal to 3. And from that, you can do things like prove trigonometry and all sorts of maths. That does not mean to go on to reality. That does not impinge upon reality. You can prove maths with other maths. That does not mean to say, I was saying, you can prove bits of reality with maths. You see, you don't understand these nuances. And
no, you're misrepresenting what the nuances is. Maths doesn't prove science. Maths is nothing to do with
I never
science.
said it did. I never said it did.
You say that science can't prove something, and I say that science proves the cause of an effect relationship.
And you're wrong. And you're wrong because you're
wrong, Rumpus.
You're ignoring the possibility of invisible green pixies. No, it isn't, and I've never said so. You cannot disprove the existence of invisible
what is science?
Pixies. You're over talking me there, Anthony. You cannot disprove the existence of invisible green pixies, can you?
So what? I'm not trying to prove the existence.
Because it could be the cause of things, you idiot!
It could be, but that's called hyperbole, speculation.
Because you can't disprove it, you can't prove it. Prove it is a 100% logical proof without exception.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
You don't understand what proof is, you moron.
Rumpus, listen. Rumpus, you're getting very irate.
Yeah, because you're a moron.
Rumpus, you're getting very irate.
Yeah, because you're a moron.
What you prove in science is the cause of an effect.
You don't prove anything in science, Anthony, because you can't prove things. Because you can't
What are you talking about? In science, you prove what the cause is.
No, you do not. You say this is the likely cause using induction. You can't prove that invisible green pixies are not doing it.
All right, so we need to go back to the very basic definition of what science over pseudoscience is.
And proof is. You don't understand what proof is.
Let's have the definition of pseudoscience on screen right now, please. Just go to Google and type in pseudoscience definition, and then just whatever comes up first, put that on screen.
Okay.
I cannot believe you can't understand if you can't disprove invisible green pixies. Yeah, well, there's a gap here.
I don't care what you can't understand.
Yeah, well, you're stupid. Invisible green pixies, you can't disprove them, therefore you cannot prove them.
I don't care about invisible green pixies. We can't prove them.
No, you don't, because you're stupid. Because you're stupid. Yes, I know you're stupid.
In what we can't prove. I'm interested in what we can prove.
Again, exactly, because you're stupid. You don't understand that if you can't disprove invisible green pixies, you can't prove these correlations that we see.
We're interested in what science is, and science is a method where we prove the cause and effect.
And it can't prove that.
So I've brought up.
Are we having the definition of pseudoscience? There we go. Just make that bigger so we can read it.
All you can do.
Press Control and plus on your keyboard. It makes it bigger.
I just press Control and scroll. It says here, a collection of beliefs or practices mistakenly regarded as being based on the scientific method.
Right. So if it's not based on the scientific method, Rumpus, that makes it pseudoscience. So the scientific method is what we need to go into next, because if you're not going to follow the scientific method, by that definition, it's pseudoscience.
I'm also following the scientific method. Well, I've never rejected it, you idiot.
Well, you seem to be
I'm just
rejecting
saying-
it right now
No,
because
just
you're
'cause
saying
you
that
don't
science
understand-
doesn't prove
that's
anything.
'cause none of where does that say that doesn't prove anything? If you go, you've just had things cited to you.
They're your
Which
words.
hold on, now you're interrupting me again. We've already had citations of things that show that science can't prove anything, and I've given you the reason for it is because you can't disprove that things like invisible green pixels exist. Therefore, there is no proof, and that's why if you bothered to research this at all, you would find that all philosophers in science would say science can't prove things. Only maths can prove other maths. We have to use induction. We have to say that if we drop something a million times,
We don't use induction in science to prove
I'll stop
something.
in a second. And the proof that bars drop in a vacuum to the floor, that's not proof that it will happen again. We cannot prove guaranteed 100% that a bar will fall in a vacuum in something. And that's because you can't prove anything to do with science in the real world. You can only prove maths.
No. But can I respond?
Well, you're an idiot. I mean, if you don't understand that simple argument, I mean, you're
you're
so
wrong.
stupid, I can't explain things to you. You're too stupid to understand. That's your problem.
So
let him respond.
Would you mind presenting that definition of science for the benefit of just Rumpus? Because everybody in the audience needs to see this, but Rumpus doesn't understand it.
What was that again? I was just...
In the side chat, in the debate lobby text.
Yeah?
That link that I've just put in there, the definition, the oxforddictionaries.com. If you wouldn't mind presenting that on screen.
Okay. Just give me a few seconds.
That's where I'll be putting all my citations for the statements that I rely upon. Notice that Rumpus won't be doing any citations for the things he relies upon.
I have got a dislocated shoulder and have great difficulty at the moment doing it.
It's got nothing to do with your citations, has it? Let's be honest.
I can't use the mouse.
How's your 6-month cold getting on? Have you got over that yet?
My life has been a bit complicated the last 6 months, but don't worry, you'll be
Not
afraid,
worried.
Anthony. Be very afraid
not
about
worried.
the.
It took you that long to get back to me on a point that you claimed. That I'm not worried, mate.
Well, it is 170 pages web page document, so it is a bit more than just.
Really, I'm
random.
looking forward to it.
Well, I'm good. I'm
So-
glad you.
Right. Oh,
It's
no,
got
that's
lots
not
of pretty
the one I
pictures, so you'll like that.
We're looking. Oh, yeah, there you go. Right, so make that bigger and read it for us.
It says the intellectual and practical activity encompassing the systematic study of the structure and behavior of the physical and natural world through observation and experiment.
So what's the last 3 words there, Rumpus? Observation and experiment, right?
Yeah.
So where does
But doesn't
logic or reason fit into that?
It doesn't say it proves anything, Anthony.
No, we prove the cause and... Oh, so you want the definition of the cause and effect
It
relationship?
doesn't prove
Ben?
anything. This is based on
Science proves the
induction.
cause
It's
and effect
saying
relationship.
it doesn't prove it though, Anthony. It says this is our best guess of what happens.
All right, so let me get you a citation for proving the
It
cause
does
and
not
effect relationship.
prove. It doesn't prove anything. It's just our best guess at what causes what.
No, it does.
And
No, you're
science is
wrong, Rumpus.
more. And science is more than just cause and effect. There's another problem you and Nathan have got. Science is all about observation. For instance, would you regard it as science, for instance, to work out the dimensions of a proton? That doesn't involve experiment. That involves observation. Or
Observation and experiment is the requirement,
yes, exactly.
not
Whereas-
just
yes,
observation.
but the experimental method only applies to experiments, not observations. You moron.
Yes, but it requires both, not
Yeah,
just
you agree
one.
with me. Excellent. You agree with me. Excellent. Good.
It requires both, though, not just
No,
one.
it doesn't. No, you can have things that are based on observation and things that are based on experiments.
All right, so let's go to that Wikipedia link, please, sir. It's just a Wikipedia link. It's the simplest one I can get, but it seems to be a problem that Rumpus thinks that cause and effect is not what's proven by science. So
Yeah,
let's
it
just
doesn't
have that
prove
on
it.
screen and let's read what it says.
Because you don't know invisible green pixels are doing it, Anthony. You
We're not
can't
interested in
prove
what
it.
we can't prove. We're interested in what we can prove.
Right, you see, this is why you see your reasoning is so poor. You can't understand that if you
Hang on,
can't
you haven't
show.
seen the citation yet.
Yeah, but
You haven't seen the
I'm just
citation.
highlighting your misunderstand, your lack of reasoning skills here. I have just
No.
demonstrated to you.
No,
that
it's not about reasoning skills. It's about...
No, it is reasoning. No, you can't reason, Anthony, and because you didn't
Not
understand
about
what I just
reasoning,
said to you,
Rumpus, it's
you
about
didn't
adherence to the scientific method.
You didn't understand what I said to you. If you can't prove that invisible green pixels are doing something, then you can't disprove it. And if you can't
Thank you,
disprove
Rumpus.
it, for instance, imagine there are two effects. For
Rumpus,
instance, there's a classic line. There's a classic line here. If it's wet outside, is it raining? Now, your argument is that, well, of course it is, must be raining, but there could be more than one cause or something. And what happens with things like something dropping to the ground in a vacuum chamber? You don't know that there might not be multiple causes, including invisible green pixies. Because you can't dismiss multiple causes, you can't say it's proved to be gravity. And you don't understand this fact. More than one cause could be in causing the effect. You don't understand. It's as simple,
Rumpus.
but you don't understand.
Thank you, Rumpus.
Most intelligent people would understand they've been invalidated, but you're too stupid to understand you've just been invalidated. It's quite hilarious.
Please, Rumpus, come on, shush. An experiment is a procedure carried out to support...
Look in the text chat. It has it in there.
According to
the text chat, read it verbatim, please.
Hang on, I've not made my point yet. Am I being obfuscated here by somebody else that's not in the conversation?
Yeah, you are.
Let
Anthony make his point. Whatever it is.
Right, and then we'll move to your point. An experiment's a procedure carried out to support, refute, or validate a hypothesis. Experiments provide insight into a cause and effect by demonstrating, not logically, demonstrating what outcome occurs when a particular factor is manipulated. Experiments vary greatly in goal and scale, but always rely on repeatable procedure and logical analysis of results.
Did you say logical?
See that an experiment...
No mention of proof there, is there, Anthony? No mention of proof. All it does is...
No, it proves the cause and effect relationship.
It doesn't prove it. It never said proof. It supports it. Do you see the word support there, Anthony, in the first sentence? It says support. So what it does, it's saying, we've got a correlation. So it could be the cause. It could be the only cause for all we know, but we don't know. We can't prove it because this is not maths.
Rumpus, you don't understand what a hypothesis is. If we validate a hypothesis, we accept that the identified independent variable is causing the effect.
Validating it is not proof, Anthony. Validating it is not proof.
That's what we do.
No, it isn't.
We literally validate the hypothesis.
Sorry, I have to interject here. Do you know how we validate a hypothesis?
Yeah, we use systematic experimentation.
You know what the actual mechanism is?
Manipulation of your independent variable.
But how do we describe the hypothesis as being correct and accept it? What condition needs to be met for us to accept our hypothesis?
You have to manipulate. The experimenter must manipulate your assumed cause.
Yes, we manipulate our independent variable or dependent variable, or we do it through statistical methods. But formally...
No, we don't do it through statistical methods. That's not true.
Okay.
Anthony, almost every experiment doesn't have a 100% agreement.
Anthony, what you end up doing is you formally what you do is you disprove your null hypothesis.
Well, you can validate your... No, not always. You can either prove your hypothesis, you can disprove your hypothesis by applying your null, or you can vary your hypothesis with your alternative hypothesis. But either way, you're going to get an answer.
Statistically, probable answer. You don't know. You can't.
No, not statistical. Empirical.
Yes.
Forget maths.
Anthony, you know the Higgs boson that supposedly has, in your problem mind, has probably improved. All they did was a statistical analysis on it. They said, yes, they apply a statistical bar on whether or not they think it's true or not. All experiments basically revolve around a statistical probability of whether or not what they've got is true or not. It's a probability. There's a certain bar they have to meet, and it's based on induction. No scientist claims they've proved anything.
So I've just demonstrated with the previous
citation... You haven't demonstrated anything, Anthony, except you're an idiot.
Rumpus, stop interrupting. I've demonstrated on the previous citation it was cause and effect, not statistical significance or correlation.
Where did it show proof? Anthony, where did it mention proof? Anthony, where did it show proof? It said supports. It never mentioned proof, you idiot.
What was the other two words it used?
Validate, and that's not proof either, you idiot.
Right, so
you don't understand what proof is. You don't understand what prove means, do you? Because you're an idiot.
Right, what does prove mean, Rumpus?
Means that something is 100% guaranteed. Like 1 + 1 is equal to 2 there's a proof for that cannot ever be wrong. But invisible green pixies could invalidate all of science.
So if
you
we
don't understand basic science.
So, Rumpus, listen. If we validate our hypothesis by manipulating the independent variable and it causes an effect that we observe and measure and prove, and then we validate it by repeating it systematically over and over again, and it does the same thing, that is your cause in a scientific experiment.
Right, you just said it. You just said it. You repeat it again and again. And that's why I asked you at the very start of this discussion whether or not a bar being dropped 1 million times proves that on the 1,000,001st time it would do it. And you accepted at that point that it doesn't prove it. And now you're saying the opposite. You moron.
No, Rumpus.
Yes. No, I'm being very specific.
You're fudging language. What you're asking me, does it prove something that hasn't happened yet? How can anything ever prove something that's not happened? You're asking for a probability, but you're calling it a proof. That's wrong.
So if you claim to have a cause and effect, how do you know on the next time you do the experiment it's going to get the same effect from the same
because
cause?
What you're invoking
you can't prove it, can you, Anthony?
Statistical probability. That's not science. That's maths.
You can't prove it, Anthony. If you, in your mind, when you've established cause and effect, you don't know that the 1,000,001st time you do that experiment, you're going to get the same result because you can't prove it.
But you haven't manipulated something to cause. Rumpus, listen, you can't prove a cause and effect relationship if you haven't got an action to prove cause on yet because you haven't done it.
You can never
you're talking
prove
about
cause
is statistical significance.
That's can never prove cause and effect.
That's maths.
Hey, Riley.
You just said you can't prove anything about cause and effect, Anthony. So when you just said to me, you can't prove...
I never said that. I did not say that. I said...
You just said to me...
It's the cause and effect relationship.
No, it isn't. Science is much more than that. No, it
Systematic experimentation with the cause and effect relationship.
Yes,
it's got nothing to do with something that's not happened yet, Rumpus.
But science cannot say on the 1,000,001st time it tries to it comes up with a theory. It cannot prove that on the 1,000,001st time or the 10,000,001st time that will happen because it never.
But that's because science is a cause and effect relationship. What you're talking about is statistical probability of something that's not yet happened happening again.
You're stupid. It's induction.
No, Rumpus. No, I'm not stupid. You are misrepresenting words.
No, you are stupid.
Scientific method is things that have happened that you've manipulated, not things that have not yet happened. That's called speculation.
Hold up. I just want to point out that I have something here saying the misconception that science proves ideas. It says here that science accepts or rejects ideas based on the evidence. It does not prove or disprove them. And this is from I think.
Where does it say that?
This is from Berkeley University.
Berkeley? Can I see the citation for that at the top?
Yeah, maybe we should get to some brass tacks here instead of discussing idioms and.
No, I want to dwell on this point, please. I'd like to dwell on science.
I'm not done. Hello, please don't interrupt me. Like for example, every prediction that science makes that comes to pass is only further support for a theory. It's never proved. It's never 100% definitive. It only furthers to support the existing theory. Now, show us, for example, something along those lines that flat Earth has accomplished.
I'm sorry, you're a little bit quiet for me to hear. If I turn you up, I'm going to get feedback. Do you mind repeating that question?
What has flat Earth produced? What has flat Earth predicted using whatever method you choose?
Well, flat Earth hasn't produced anything.
I guarantee you that, and thank you for the and thank you for saying.
Yeah, but hang on. You need to understand what our position is. Our position is that we're not accepting we live on a ball.
Your position is to be mercurial and change with whatever needs of the day and of the moment.
No. The best way for us to argue outside is to question the claims that we're presented with.
Why don't you present things yourself instead of being presented with things?
Well, I can do, but they're never, ever accepted.
If you can do it, then why don't you?
Well, we can. But the problem is, like I said, they're never, ever accepted by people like Rumpus, who just add a bit more bendy light.
Wait, is it because they're absolute?
There's no need to invoke
all right, Atheist Rex, let me ask you this. If Earth turn causes sunrise and sunset...
You're not asking me anything. You said you can't produce things. I ask you, why don't you?
Because I'm not the one making the assertion here.
Yes, you are.
I'm questioning the evidence that you guys believe and push and preach.
Well, you're not doing it very well. You're doing it by very dishonest and disingenuous means.
Why? Well, asking for evidence. Asking for evidence is dishonest, is it?
You don't do it.
Let's clarify. Atheist, are you saying that asking for proof is dishonest?
getting it and disregarding it is dishonest.
Right, but we can disregard it if it's not scientific proof, right?
Well, but you're disregarding the meaning of scientific evidence, aren't you?
No, Rumpus is misrepresenting what science is. He thinks it's logic.
Don't bring Rumpus into this. It's all about you.
Why?
Listen,
right, atheist, listen, answer me this.
Hold on. So how come scientists right here in the chat use the method as described and they get their science done? Flat earthers use it and get shit done. How's that?
Answer me this. If Earth turn is the reason why sunrise and sunset happen...
I have a question on the table. How come flat earthers can't get any science done?
We can, but you guys simply dismiss it with a hand wave dismissal based on bullshit maths.
Oh, yeah. Well, give me an example that... bullshit maths. Is that... Well, if it's bullshit maths, you'd be able to show...
You guys think that maths is some kind of acceptable evidence to prove things away, but maths doesn't prove anything other than that maths works.
Well, you try to build a house without it.
Yeah, it makes predictions, Anthony, and they all...
You can build a house without maths, mate. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I'd like to see you try, and who'd live in it?
I've never seen...
Yours?
I've never seen... My builder built my extension on my house, right, and he didn't once use maths. He literally built it with bricks.
No one believes it.
No one believes it.
God.
He didn't say plan to build the house. He said build the house.
Yeah, we're not talking about simple situations, Anthony. We're talking about complicated ones. If you want to build a big bridge or a big building, you need to use maths, and you'll get the modelling right.
Somebody answer me this question.
And it will make
if sunrise... I often... Listen, listen, guys,
about the real world.
Gents, listen. The claim is that science proves everything, right? Science has got all the answers. There's a whole body of science out there, right?
Guess what, Anthony? The world works. The world works.
Right, all right, the world works, right? I hear balls all the time saying explain sunsets. My question is, okay, if Earth turn is the cause of sunrise and sunset, why can't they measure the rotation of 15 degrees an hour?
We can.
Well, we can and we do daily.
How?
Denying it is getting you nowhere. Denying it is getting.
I haven't denied anything. You haven't made a statement.
We don't need to make a statement, Anthony. Just go out there and look at it. I don't need to spoon feed you anything, dumbass.
But you said I was denying something that you hadn't even said for me to deny. Yeah. So let's just backtrack a little bit.
Why don't you go ask Bob Nodell
Let's backtrack a little bit. If Earth turn is the cause of sunrise and sunset, why can't science measure 15 degrees an hour?
It can,
idiot. It does every day.
Gyro
it does every second of every day. Now, why don't you provide an alternative?
So what's the measurement of 15 degrees an hour, please?
Never mind. Why don't you provide an alternative? Give us an alternative reason why this.
I don't need to. You're the one with the claim that Earth turn is a thing. So I ask you for proof.
Hey, Anthony.
And then you say, no. You provide me some alternative. That's not the way it works. He who asserts must prove, and I'm asking for the proof.
We don't need
so do you have proof of Earth turn or not?
Yes, we're from satellites, from satellites in orbit.
Satellites in orbit, most of them are geosynchronous, so how are they going to prove Earth turn?
No, only a few of them are geosynchronous.
My hands of evidence are not tied behind my back from just because I have to deny things.
No, but the claim is that Earth turning causes sunrise and sunsets, is it not?
It sure is. Yes.
Right. So how is it that you can't prove that the Earth's turning?
We can.
You can.
Go on then. How do we do it?
Tell you that.
Okay, right. Tell me how you do it. What is the science, please?
Right. For a start, you can use the gyroscope thing if you want to, as one example. We've also got the Doppler effect, which demonstrates.
Right, stop. Let's not scattergun. Which is your best proof?
I was giving you lots of proofs. I was giving you lots of proofs.
Right, which one's your best?
God, just the pictures of it is probably pretty good.
Yeah,
pictures show Earth turn.
The best would be it's observable from space.
Yeah,
observable from space. Right. So you're going to claim a picture? One picture?
A whole lot of pictures.
I'm going to guess what? No, I'm going to claim over 1 million pictures.
Yeah,
a million pictures from space proves Earth turn.
So we have him.
Right. Listen. I've got pictures of Santa.
I've got
Listen. I've got pictures of Santa.
Anthony,
I will talk all over you. I don't give a shit. I've got all day. Listen, I've got 1 million. I've got 1 million images from space. What have you got?
Right. I've got 1 million pictures of Santa.
Yeah, but you're not a trustworthy source, Anthony.
Guess what?
Okay, hold on.
Guess what?
They
I
can
bet you
also
don't.
use the rotation. of
Our
the
pictures have
balloon,
been
the apparent
verified,
rotation.
validated, peer-reviewed. Your pictures have not.
My audio's not
Don't be ridiculous. Who's validated your pictures from space?
There are numerous space organisations, Anthony. They all validate one another. And what's more, you can do experiments yourself on the ground to measure Earth turn, including the gyroscope one, as well as using Foucault's pendulum.
Hang on. Let's stay on pitch.
And what's more,
Hang on.
I just finished 5 seconds, and they all support one another. All of the experiments.
We're having one claim at a time. We're not scattergunning.
Yeah, Anthony, you've been going for a long time. I've got 5 more seconds.
I haven't.
And all of the observations and experiments you can conduct all support one another with the same result. Thank you. Go ahead.
Stop. Right. The point that we had on the table was pictures from space prove Earth turn.
Yeah, and you raised me pictures of Santa.
So pictures from space. How are they? Let's challenge how credible and verified they are.
Go ahead.
What do pictures from space prove?
What were we looking for? Rotation of the Earth, weren't we?
Yeah, we want to see proof of Earth turn, right?
Among a million other things, they prove that.
I don't care what the million other things are. The claim is on the table that pictures from space prove Earth turn.
They weren't the focus of my statement.
So,
I said,
the picture that's on screen right now, the Himawari, can somebody tell me, is this yes or no? Is this a real picture, or is it something? Is it a picture, yes or no?
Yes.
It is a picture.
Right. So how is this picture made? Is it a photograph, or is it composed by some software program?
It's a photograph.
Well, no, it has had bits added onto it, but it starts off as a photograph. Yeah.
No, it doesn't start off as a photograph. How is this picture from Himawari made?
Sorry, how does it not start off as a photograph?
I'm asking you that. I know the answer. I'm seeing whether you guys know it or not.
It does start off as a photograph.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
How do you
Right,
know?
citation, please. Citation that's a photograph.
Okay.
It doesn't.
No, you said start off, and as you've changed your point, we said it's a composite of these red lines and things on it, but it starts off as a photograph upon which have been superimposed graphics to highlight things. Of course.
Citation for that, please.
So what are you claiming it does start off as, then, you idiot?
It starts off as multiple layers that they have to construct and put through a computer progress.
Yes, and then multiple layer photographs.
Not a photograph.
Anthony, each one of those layers is a photograph, you moron.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is. Each one of those layers, they filter on a particular RGB, but they're still photographs in a particular color plane, you idiot.
It isn't.
Yes, it is. Each one of those layers is a separate photograph, you utter moron.
It's the same way your cell phone does it. Is your wife a CGI image?
What?
No, what he's claiming, atheist, is he's heard about these 3 layers because it does take 3 photographs in 3 different color planes, and so he's heard this and thought, oh look, it's not just one simple photograph, it's 3 layers. Therefore, it's not a photograph because he's a bloody moron, doesn't understand that it's 3 separate photographs. So he thinks he's got a lever into there into invalidating it when he's got nothing of the sort. He's just a moron.
I have a question for Anthony, but I'm not sure what my audio is working. Hello?
They are 3 separately coloured photographs that are added together in layers to produce the final thing. But each one is a separate photograph in the colour plane of that. Yes, they are. It's a bloody camera, you idiot. We call something that comes into a camera and it forms an image in 3 different colour planes that is a photograph in 3 different colours, you utter idiot.
The Himawari satellite, the images that we get back from the so-called Himawari satellite, they are all 3 layers that start off.
Yes, 3, and each one's a photograph. You can have black.
No, they're not.
You can have photographs in the red plane. You can have photographs in the green plane. You can have photographs in the blue plane. You utter moron.
But the problem is, let's just call them photographs for the sake of this.
Guess what, Anthony?
If you mix 3 photographs together to get 1 photograph,
yes, so they're 3 separate ones made into 1. Yes, well done. So you've just demonstrated exactly what I was saying. You've got this idea that there's 3 different colours. You therefore saying it's not a photograph. You utter moron.
Right, answer my question. You didn't answer my question.
Well, okay, what's
the
question
again? 3 so-called photographs and you mix them all together.
Planes. That's right, in different color planes. Yes, because you have different in your little iPhone. You have 3 different colored sensitive parts of the chip, and this just simply does 1 color plane in 1 color plane. Then it takes another photograph in the green color plane and another one in the blue color plane, just like your bloody camera does in your phone. And then it combines them. That does not make it invalid. You utter moron.
It does, because that makes it a composite picture. That's not a real picture. So
in which case all the photographs you take with your goddamn iPhone are invalid then, you utter idiot.
When you said it was a picture from space, it's not actually a picture, is it?
Yes, it is. It's 3 different coloured pictures combined. Each one is a separate picture. You utter moron.
So if anybody wants to see the debunk for this, I'm not going to go through the debunk now, but literally, if you go to the
You
channel...
don't understand how photography works, do you? You don't understand how photography works. You're an utter moron.
If you go to John Thor and type in Himawari on his channel... No, stop. If you go to John Thor's channel and type in Himawari, Flat Earth Himawari, it's a 9-minute video, and that explains how the Himawari footage is put together. And that can be done in an office on the ground, and it doesn't need computers that are up in space.
Yeah, bullshit.
Okay,
Bullshit.
thank you,
Find that
Anthony.
office.
So you are saying that someone in an office in the ground is faking these? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that the images that you call pictures from space are not actually pictures, and they're not from space.
Yeah, but no.
Okay,
Why
so
should we
where are
believe
they
you?
from?
Hey, Anthony, why should we believe you?
I think Anthony's talking bollocks as
I just want
usual.
to go down the direction.
You shouldn't believe anything. That's why I'm saying to go look at the video
no,
on John
that-
Thor's
you're right,
channel
you're
that
right.
shows how the Himawari
that's
satellite
it.
images
All right,
are
guys,
actually
guys.
made. Don't believe me? Go to John
Well,
Thor's
guess
channel.
what, Anthony? It's your lucky day. I don't believe you, but if
I don't care if you believe me. I'm telling the audience to go and check out the video on John Thor's channel about Himawari that was published at the end of December 2018.
So you can't make an argument yourself, you utter moron. You
Yeah,
have to
I
go
can
and
do, but it's an 8-minute
No, you
video. I
can't.
don't
You
want
have
to play it.
We've just invalidated your argument, Anthony. We've just demonstrated.
You haven't invalidated anything.
Yes, we have, because you
Your
didn't
claim
understand
is-
how it worked. You didn't understand how
claim-
photography works, and now all you're doing is saying, "Oh, go and look at this other video that's done by some
No,
other
no,
moron."
no.
We're not
Your
interested.
claim
If you can't present an argument, Anthony, we're not interested in it. Get an argument, demonstrate it, and then we'll listen to you.
Your claim is that they are pictures and they are from space. They're not pictures and they're not from space. They are composed images that require at least...
That's an assertion, and why should we believe?
Yeah, you're just denying reality, Anthony. You're a reality denier.
Well, for me to prove how this works, you're going to have to listen to an 8-minute video. But I can summarise it in a
Because you can't
sentence.
make an argument. So you can't
Yeah,
make
I
an
can.
argument, Anthony. Well done.
The argument
Well
is
done,
this.
Anthony. No,
Your
you've got an
claim
argument,
is
have you?
that they are pictures from space. They're not pictures and they're not from space.
And they are
If you'd
pictures
like to
from
see the
space.
explanation, go to John Thor's channel, type in
Yeah,
Himawari.
exactly,
It was only
all
just
you can
published.
do is say no. Put your fingers in your ears.
No,
and say no. That's
I
all
can
you've got. That's all
Well,
you've got.
unless you want to sit
Anthony.
through an
Just say
8-minute
no and
video.
stick your fingers in your ears. You
No,
don't
I'm
understand
not.
how
I'm saying that they're not
photography works.
pictures.
That's all you are
Listen.
saying. You haven't got any
No, it's
logical
not.
argument.
I'm saying
You just
that
say
they're not
no.
pictures. No, I'm
Yeah,
saying
you
that
just
they're
say
not
no.
pictures.
Yeah, you just say
Stop
no. That's
interrupting.
all you're doing.
Stop
Yeah, but just stop saying
interrupting.
no.
All right,
Give an
Stop
argument, Anthony.
interrupting.
Give an argument.
They are not pictures and they are
That's
not
not
from
an
space.
argument.
Yeah,
That's not an argument. No, it
They're
isn't.
not from a satellite, boys and girls. Go to John Thor's channel, check his
say no.
Himawari video out. It puts this
I ask
context,
a
this
simple
argument in the
question.
video.
Rumpus, take a break. Let me ask a simple question. What is John Thor's expertise in the area that he can make such a claim?
Well, he finds out where the root directory and the photographs that you guys call pictures from space actually come from.
And how does it? I'm sorry. What is his expertise? I didn't ask how he did it.
Oh, right. So hang on. So John Thor needs to have expertise to debunk you
Well,
guys.
you know
but
what?
You guys
It would sure
don't need
help a
any
lot.
expertise to claim it.
Sure
Is
go
that
a
how
long
it
way
works?
to advance his credibility.
Answer my question. Does John Thor need to have expertise to debunk your assertion that you guys claim that with no expertise whatsoever?
Yeah.
He needs to have reason and evidence.
Bullshit.
Oh, he doesn't have to have
Right.
reason and evidence. Excellent. Okay, that's sorted. Then he doesn't have to have reason
No,
or
bullshit,
evidence.
bullshit that he has to have a different level of expertise than what you guys have to claim it in the
I'd
first
have to know what
place.
his credentials are to make such a claim.
So
His credentials are based on where the photographs actually come from. They don't come from space, they come from Earth.
I just want to know why.
Yes, they're in a
put
folder.
together.
I wanna know
Yeah,
why
Anthony,
he's
they
better
live
at
in a
it than all the
computer at
world's
some
experts.
stage, yeah. Yeah, they live in a computer at some stage. That invalidates them, doesn't it? Because they've appeared on a folder somewhere.
Well,
You
they're not
idiot.
pictures, and they're not from space.
Yeah,
But the
Anthony,
claim
just
was
saying
that
no
pictures from
with
space.
fingers doesn't
Hold on
make
for-
it true. You have no argument. You
Hold on.
have no
Hang on,
argument.
hang on. Right,
Literally.
first off, right, you've used the word prove. Now, in science, the word prove requires adherence to the scientific method, which we
No,
went through
science never
before.
proves anything,
Hold on
Anthony.
for a
We've already done
second.
this.
Yes, it does. Science
doesn't
proves the
prove- no, it
cause
doesn't.
and the
No,
effect.
it doesn't. No, and all those
So if
quotes
you're
you
gonna
gave us,
claim
the word proof never appeared,
If
did it,
you're going to
Anthony?
claim
the word
that Earth
proof,
rotation
the
is the
word proof
cause,
never
then we
appeared, did
want
it?
to see the cause demonstrated in science. Pictures are not cause, they're not effects, they're
They're
observations only.
Anthony. They're
It's
observations.
not,
What did I tell you,
it's
Anthony?
not proving anything. It's a photograph.
Anthony, do you
It's an
believe-
image.
Okay, Anthony. Do you believe what your eyes tell you?
Right. Why is that a relative point?
Well, I want to know whether or not you regard visual observation as in some way evidence for the position.
No, in the same way that I don't accept this visual evidence as proof of Earth
So
turn.
you do not accept what you observe is in any way evidence for a position.
Not proof. It's not cause.
Exactly. It doesn't prove that's right. You're getting onto it. You're gradually learning, aren't you? No, you're right. It doesn't prove anything because we know for a start the refraction bends things. But it does. But I didn't say that. But Anthony, did you notice I didn't say prove? I said it supports the position.
No,
I'm very careful in my words.
A minute ago,
No, I didn't. I didn't. I said, does it support the evidence for a particular position? I made sure I didn't use the word proof because it had been
somebody else did. Somebody else did, though.
On my behalf, they didn't. I never said it was proof. So do you accept your eyes are at least evidence
that Earth turns?
Right, because we can't prove it. But if we see, this is what you have to do when you have an argument on something like science. You then have to say, well, okay, are we going to accept that the scientific method gives us something we're going to call for the moment? We'll call it validation, perhaps would be better too, which was used in the document you described earlier. So we can say that science validates things. It doesn't prove them, but it can validate things. And when we know that these cameras
we're not
work,
saying that. We're not saying that. What we're saying
You're
is
not saying
science proves the
validates
cause and effect relationship. That's what it proves.
No, it doesn't prove. No, it doesn't prove anything.
Yeah, it does, because the experimenter manipulates it.
No, yeah,
that's how
it's
he
not
proves
invisible
it.
green pixies, Anthony. You don't know it's not invisible green pixies.
No, you can't prove invisible green pixies because they're invisible green pixies.
You can't disprove them either, can you, Anthony? You don't understand simple reasoning.
That's not what science is proving. Science is not proving something that you can't do.
Anthony.
Rumpus, listen. Rumpus, listen. Science does not prove what you can't do. Science proves what you can do.
And it doesn't prove
manipulate your independent variable, Rumpus. Come on, it's not difficult.
And it doesn't
you know this is true.
If I yes, but Anthony, if I drop something 1,000,000 times in a vacuum chamber, does it prove that it will happen again on the 1,000,000th time?
Right, but like I said to you before, Rumpus, science can't prove something. Listen, science can't prove something that hasn't already happened.
But that's what you're saying. You're saying that
I'm not. I'm saying that science proves
Anthony,
a cause.
you just said you can prove. Right, but if it's proved it once, it's proved cause and effect. That means it will prove it again. That means that cause and effect is established. You've said it will happen for all time. In effect, if you've proved
Rumpus, you
something,
don't understand what cause and effect means. You think
okay, Anthony. Okay, I'll ask you a question, Anthony. If I've proved, in your case, a scientific experiment, in your mind, proves a cause and effect, does that mean to say that if I then apply that cause again, it's guaranteed to prove the same effect?
No, because science doesn't
prove
future
so it's not
events.
proof, then, is it?
No,
you idiot.
Stop. You're misrepresenting
if it doesn't make predictions about the future, then it's not a proof.
Rumpus,
it also
you're
misrepresenting
what science does. Rumpus, you're misrepresenting what science does. Science does not predict something. Science does not predict something.
It doesn't predict anything. Do you hear that, people? It doesn't predict anything.
Listen.
It doesn't predict anything. And yet you've proved it, but it doesn't predict anything.
Rumpus,
That's an incredible
statement.
Shut
up and listen. Science doesn't have anything to do with something that's not yet happened. Science
doesn't make predictions then. So it doesn't make predictions.
No, forget predictions. That's what maths and statistics do.
So you're saying it doesn't make predictions. Is that what you're saying now? You're saying science doesn't make predictions.
Science proves the cause of an effect.
Did you hear all that, people? It doesn't make predictions.
Science doesn't make predictions. Science proves the cause of an effect. That's what it does. So if you're going to ask for something that's not yet happened, science doesn't get involved in that because it isn't a cause, it's a probability. You can have maths for that, you can have a concept, you can have a model, but science proves the cause of an effect. That's it.
But if it does that then, Anthony, that must hold for the future as well. If it's proved a cause and effect relationship, that means if you then provide the next cause, you will then prove that you'll get the effect in the future. That's what
validation does, isn't it? So if you then go and do a validation experiment and you validate the original claim of the cause and the effect, it means that until new evidence comes to light, Rumpus, it will prove the cause and the effect.
You haven't proved it. Oh my God, you're actually learning.
No, you have, Rumpus.
Right. So you've just said that until... Hold on, Anthony. You've just made an important point. You've just said until it's invalidated in the future. And you've just understood, therefore, that it hasn't proved it. Because a proof is for all time. When I prove that 1 + 1 = 2. That means for all time that 1 plus 1 is equal to 2.
You misrepresented me, Rumpus.
No, you don't understand what word prove means. And you've just said it yourself.
Science can't prove something that's not yet happened because it needs a cause and an effect. Right?
So you're starting to understand what induction means. It doesn't prove it because
it's
for all time.
Got nothing to do with the scientific method.
Go and look up induction, Anthony. If you've just
I know what induction is.
Right.
Induced reasoning is not science, Rumpus.
Right, but
that's
you've just said that you can prove a cause and effect, yet that does not mean to say it will happen in the future. You don't understand what prove means then. If you believe that it's being proved...
No. You're misrepresenting words. Do you understand what cause means?
I'm just quoting you, Anthony. You said that when you prove a cause and effect, you're saying that doesn't happen in the future. It doesn't make predictions. But that's what a prove means.
No, it doesn't. You can't prove something that hasn't happened yet. Rumpus, you can't prove something that's not happened yet.
Right, but that's why it's not a proof. A proof is something for all time, Anthony. That's why 1 plus 1 is proved to be 2.
No.
And that's
science
for all
proof.
time.
Rumpus, again, you're not understanding what I'm saying.
No,
Listen carefully. It's very simple.
That's what prove means.
Science is a methodology. It proves a cause and effect.
It doesn't prove anything, Anthony.
Yes, it does. It proves the
because
cause.
It doesn't prove that when you drop something on the millionth and first time that it's going to do the same thing. It doesn't prove it. It says it's likely to happen.
It's not claiming that it'll prove it in future.
Yes, it does, because science makes predictions.
No,
science makes predictions, Anthony.
Rumpus.
I cannot believe
it's not claiming
you don't believe that science makes predictions.
Rumpus, it's not claiming that something in future will be the same. It's claiming the cause and the effect.
Science doesn't make predictions then. I cannot believe you
Science
said this.
is a method. It does not make predictions, no.
It doesn't make predictions. I mean, that really just sums up this discussion, really. Science does
not make predictions. Science is a method.
He's condemning himself. He's condemning himself at his own mouth. Unbelievable.
No, you just don't understand what science is, Rumpus.
No,
science is a method.
So
no, you don't. Science is a method.
No, science is more than a method. Science is doing things like measuring the size of a proton, and that does not involve an experiment.
No. Measuring is not science, Rumpus. Measuring is measuring. No, it isn't. Measuring is not science.
Yes, it is.
No, Rumpus, you're lying.
Anything that adds to the body
you are misleading the audience. Measuring something is not science.
Anything that adds to the body of human knowledge about the physical and natural world is science. And
science is just a method.
Measuring the size of a proton, measuring the size of a proton is science. Measuring the size of a proton is
Guy is clearly more clever than you, right? He's got a posh voice and everything, right? Shut the fuck up, Riley.
Was that English?
I don't think so.
But
well, this is not English, but I would like to have a word in. Rumpus and Riley, let me get one sentence in. Just 30
seconds. No, that was English, but whatever that guy just said, that wasn't English.
Yeah.
Let him get his sentence in. Shut the fuck up.
I would like to get a sentence in. Riley, would you like to please, I want to bring this down to earth. Would you like to present any alternative explanation for anything, I mean anything on Earth, because the globe is able to give you an explanation for 100% everything.
But I'm not interested in an explanation, though.
I'm not asking for you to deny.
Hold on, Riley, just let him finish.
I'm not asking for you to deny the explanation on the globe. I'm asking you to present an alternative on anything of your choice. Go.
But I make no assertions. The only one that's required to prove something is the one that makes the assertions. It's called Hitchens' razor. If you fail to make the assertions made without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. However,
Riley,
if you make an assertion,
if you can't present what he asked for, just say you can't present it. We don't need to hear your bullshit.
No, I can. Right? I refuse to. I'm not going to get involved in my assertion. I'm not making assertions here. I'm saying that you guys can't prove that the Earth turns.
No, that's not what he asked.
Yeah, I know, and I've said I refuse to do that because I make no assertions. My assertion is that you guys cannot prove that the Earth turns.
Prove that it doesn't turn.
Right? We're not going down that stupid rabbit hole again. We've already got there. You've been bunked, debunked, and unbunked.
One thing
that what do you mean? How have I been debunked? I haven't made an assertion.
In every way, shape, and form, dude. Listen, now you want... Hold on, let me finish. Now you probably want to...
I've made no assertions other than point out that you guys can't prove your claim.
Dude, I will talk over you all day long. Just shut the fuck up.
No, you're claiming that I've been debunked on an assertion I have not made. So what are you talking about?
Everything that comes out of your mouth has already been debunked. You know what? Centuries ago. So going over today is just an exercise in futility.
When I say you guys
come
can't
on.
prove Earth turn, you claim that somehow
yeah,
I've been
We
debunked.
say we can. I'm sorry. Do you know what a Foucault's pendulum is? Do you know what a gyroscope is? Do you know how the
I say
Coriolis
you
effect
guys
works?
can't. Rex.
All of these
Rex.
principles work on the fact that the Earth turns.
I say you guys can't
All
prove
of them.
Earth turns.
And
Have
you
I
keep
been
saying
debunked?
that. I don't give a shit what you keep saying. I just give a shit
Right,
about
but
what
have
you
I
can
been
show. What
debunked
you
or
can
not? Yes or
evidence.
no?
And you
Yes,
can
have I
actually,
been
debunked? The moon apparently rotates, and that's a result
So,
of the Earth's...
Rex, hang on, Sky, wait.
As a
So,
matter
Rex,
of
what
fact,
have I
the
been?
sun
What?
going up? The sun rising and setting is an evidence of the Earth turning.
Good point.
Right, but it's not evidence of Earth turning, is it? Because the only evidence
sure
of
is.
Earth turn is Earth turn. So my question is,
it sure is. How would such a massive body as the sun go around the Earth? What laws of physics
so
govern
why
that?
would you misrepresent me like that? Are you dishonest?
Laws of physics govern that?
Rex,
If I get
are
the
you
stars to
dishonest?
talk to Anthony directly, I can debunk any flat Earth map. Anthony,
Now,
can you listen?
why don't you focus your time on providing some alternative explanations? I will tell you.
I don't need to provide evidence to point out the hole in your evidence. You guys think the Earth turns, yet can't prove it.
Where you don't want to get caught in a lie.
Listen, Rex, I don't have to make any counter evidence. All I do is point out that you guys can't prove your nonsense to be true.
Well,
that's all I've got to
try
do.
to point it out, but you get nowhere because you suck at it.
Look, I'm not the one with the hole in the evidence, though. I'm just pointing out.
What? There is no hole in the evidence, and you can't.
So
you can't
where's the
claim
proof
there
that
is.
the Earth turns?
Well,
we kept
We
showing you,
already
Anthony.
told you.
Not accepting
Right,
evidence
by the
is
way,
not an argument.
Just like
Not accepting the evidence.
No, you've
is not
told
an
me,
argument.
but you haven't proved it. What is the proof that the Earth turns?
Yes, Anthony.
The stars rotating, the moon rotating.
Stars rotating is stars rotating.
Oh, stars
Yeah,
are really. And how do these stars, trillions of light years away, rotate around this puny Earth?
The fact
right,
we have topics every day.
Guess
The
what?
fact we get
Guess
what every day?
Cosmology and astronomy have come a long way, Anthony. We don't go back to the Neolithic age just because
It hasn't come a long way. If it's come a long way, you would be
yeah,
able to
guess
demonstrate
what?
how we
Guess
prove
what?
that the Earth turns. You cannot do
It has
it.
come a long way. It does not. It does
No, it
not
hasn't.
not
You
come a long
cannot
way
prove
because
that
you-
the Earth turns.
Dude, can you
Rex.
shut your fucking fat gob for
No, I
one
can't.
second?
Stop making silly assertions. You cannot prove that the Earth turns. End of
I
discussion.
can't prove that astronomy's come a long way. I really can't. Wow.
May I have a quick run
What,
here?
Anthony,
Hello?
Anthony, we're not moving back into the caves because you say so.
Can
I
I
prove that the Earth turns?
You know, Anthony, live in your fucking mud hut where the guy added an extension for free. But we're not going
Right,
to do it.
prove that the Earth turns, Rex, right now.
I don't have to, Anthony. We live in the 21st
Yeah, you do.
century.
You guys think that the Earth turns, and you tell
We
people
live
that
in
the
the
Earth
21st
turns.
century, Anthony. I don't need to talk like to a caveman about.
So when you
caveman.
said I was debunked, Rex, it means actually you guys have got no evidence, and you guys
No,
can
that means
claim
it
to be
means
true,
you-
but
you're
somehow I've
debunked
been
because-
debunked on an assertion that I did not
It means
make.
You're debunked when you get out of bed and before you go to bed because you're a 24/7 idiot.
We just told
All
you.
right,
like,
I'll
10
have that. You can have
different
that.
people can prove it.
Let's just be clear. Nobody can prove that the Earth turns. End of sentence.
Anthony, not accepting evidence is not an argument.
You haven't presented any evidence that the Earth turns. You said pictures from space.
Yeah. It's evidence you haven't accepted. Oh, you referred us to
It's
some
not
idiot
proof that the
video.
Earth turns.
Big fucking deal. Oh,
There's a
you're
difference
right.
between
Idiot
evidence
shit.
that you
How many-
accept and
Oh,
proof of-
Anthony, I'm pretty sure you've got a plethora of videos from idiots to prove everything.
No, I'm not making any claim. I don't need to prove anything. I'm asking you guys to prove that the Earth turns.
That is why
Is there
idiots
anybody
don't
on the
run
panel
world.
that can
is why
prove that the
idiots
Earth
don't
turns?
work at NASA. That is why
Is there anybody that can prove that the Earth turns?
Rex, I'm going to mute you for a second so that I can get a word
Yes.
in. All right? Because I've got something here, a picture from space. You know, the Himawari 8 satellite, right? And I've gone ahead and run an ELA analysis on it with photoforensics. Now, this photoforensics can tell you, if you are an expert in, especially if you're an expert in photoforensics, it can tell you whether an image has been faked or not. And especially if there's any photoforensics in the chat here, it doesn't look as though it's been faked. It looks pretty. The only thing that I could say possibly might point to it being faked is the outline, but even then the outline's pretty consistent. So, Anthony, if you're looking at the stream here, can you tell me what about this image proves that it's fake?
Are you an expert in photoforensics?
I'm not an expert, but I do know a little bit enough about it to know that if you run it through this ELA analysis, you can determine from that whether an image is faked.
Nah, that's not nearly deep enough to be able to establish whether or not a picture is falsified or not, fake or otherwise.
How do you know
That's
that?
not nearly enough. ELA is
How
not
do you
enough.
know? What is? Hold on. What is your level of expertise to make that statement?
I'm not making any claims. I'm
You
asking,
just
is
said
he an
it's- you
expert?
just said
And the
it's not
answer is
deep
no. Hang on.
not
I'm
deep
asking,
enough.
is he an expert on photoforensics by applying the ELA technique on photoforensics.com?
Yeah, and we're wondering how you know it's not a valid test.
Well, because if photoforensics was as simple as using the ELA filter on the photoforensics website, then everybody would be a photoforensics expert, right?
Well, what I can do is I can look at this image here, particularly the ELA analysis, and we can look at it and go, okay, what part of it is inconsistent? The closest part that you can get that is inconsistent with the rest of the image is the outline of the globe, but that is consistent within itself, and from as far as I can tell, it is expected from this kind of having outlines being consistent with themselves and not particularly with the whole image is expected from an ELA analysis of a real image.
But we know that it's a composite, so you can't argue that it's a real image because ELA, when they admit on the NASA website, composite.
This is from
relevant
whether it's composite or not. This is from the Japanese, not NASA.
Yeah, but the Himawari satellite is admitted on NASA's webpage that it is a composite image. It's not a real image.
Okay,
hold on. Composites are real images.
And
No,
also
they're not.
link where it says that the Himawari 8 is a composite.
Okay, it's on NASA's website. Let me find it.
Okay.
NASA's, are you sure?
Yeah.
You realize that Himawari is a Japanese satellite, right?
No, I understand that. Bear with me. Let me find the citation.
Yeah, as a sleeping warrior can't do more than 2 tasks at a time. While he's away, I want him to think about the fact that on a round, flat map, whether it be square or round, if you're in Australia and you're looking at the southern stars, how can someone in South Africa, which is 5,200 miles away, be looking at the same stars if it was a round Earth, like the Gleason map? They'd be looking in different positions. And if it was a square
now
map,
we're going to get half an hour on what south means.
They do look in different positions. What are you talking about?
No, okay. If someone's in South Africa looking at the southern stars,
Yeah,
and someone's in
he's not looking
Western
south.
Australia,
Yeah, that's
looking
right. They're not
south.
looking south.
Oh, they're not looking south, are they?
No.
Where are they looking?
Dude, I told you we're going to get half an hour on the meaning of the word south.
No. Right, so the claim is that an observer in Africa and an observer in Australia, when looking south, see the same set of
Western
stars
Australia.
but rotated.
Yeah.
Right? That evidence exists, but they're not looking south. One of them's got a look at the declination values for South Africa. I believe it's plus 24, and the declination adjustment for Australia is minus 14. That proves that by virtue of declination, that fact means that you are not looking where your compass tells you is south. They're
Not
telling you
so.
to correct for your
Not
compass.
so. Absolutely, you know nothing about astronomy. You know nothing about spatial relationships. You know
So
nothing about
let's
spatial
test
coordinates. You know
let's
nothing
test
about
the claim,
spatial
then.
coordinate system. Nothing.
Here we go. This is what happened on your channel the other day, Sleeping Warrior, when I tried to tell you about the depression. What the
I'm not interested in what you tell me.
Then you went
Planarwalk.
gravity.
Yeah.
Stop. Planarwalk. Do me a favour, sir.
All the
Search.
time.
Go to Google and search declination values for what did you say? Africa, South Africa.
Doesn't matter. Everybody. Okay, let's.
No,
just
it does. It matters a lot. Let's do it.
Let me finish.
Why does
No. Stop. I insist.
Hold on.
I insist. The claim is.
You don't want me to talk because it'll kill you.
No. The claim is that 2 observers in Africa and Australia look south.
Whether it kills you or not. Listen, everybody.
No, we're not doing this. We're going to deal with the claim that 2 observers in Africa and Australia look south.
Say. You're a little afraid about what I'm going to say.
I'm not interested in what you're about to say. I'm not afraid, but we're going to do one point at a time.
Shitless fucking flat earther. Listen, everybody is looking at the same southern point, Sigma Octantis, the centerpiece of the South Celestial rotation. That is one central point. It doesn't matter where you're standing below the equator, everybody can see it. Now, those 3 points on a flat Earth map, they should be looking in vastly different directions. Entirely
Is that
different
everyone's
directions.
looking south?
Why are they all focused on the same thing?
What?
You heard me correctly. Don't what me.
I didn't hear what you say. Repeat, please.
Why are they all focused on the same thing when they are looking in entirely different directions?
You know, you could even include.
Yeah, that's the point. They've got to be looking in the same direction, but they're not actually, are they? One's looking plus 14.
Because the Earth is a globe.
No, on a globe, they've got to be looking south. That doesn't happen in real world. No, it doesn't work. Right, listen. If we're on a globe, a guy in Australia and a guy in Africa or America must look south.
The point where you know you are lying. This is
No,
the point
shut
where
up.
you know
You're not understanding what I'm saying.
You know you're a dishonest cunt. This is the point. Right here.
No.
You yourself know you are lying.
Right, shut up. Let me explain for the dumb bastard that's not listening.
No.
No, you shut up. Listen, do you want a conversation or not? Do you want a conversation or not? Answer my question. Do you want a conversation or not?
No one gives you fucking shrift around here.
Answer the question. Do you want a conversation or not?
With impunity right here.
Do you want a conversation or not?
Answer the question.
My dick, how's that for a conversation?
That's a lot of yelling.
Answer the question. Yes or no. Do you want a conversation or not?
Yes, please, Anthony.
Not you, Atheist Rex. Atheist Rex.
Can you have an honest conversation? That's the question.
I'm asking you, do you want a conversation or not?
I want an honest conversation.
I'm asking you, do you want a conversation or not?
Yes, an honest conversation.
Right.
How many times do I have
So
to
let's
fucking
deal with
say
the point on the
back
table.
up?
Let's deal with the point on the table slowly and one point at a time.
Yeah, no. We don't need to deal with it slowly. You know here's the thing, Anthony. You know exactly what I mean.
Right.
Can
Can I have the declination adjustment, please? For
nothing
no.
you say can
Stop.
which way
Stop.
motherfuckers are
What
facing
is the
back.
declination adjustment for South Africa, please? Anybody? It's minus 25 degrees. Does anybody want to disagree with me?
I just wanted to say something real quick. I'm a professional photographer, U.S. Army trained, 35 years in the business. Anthony Riley, you don't know shit about photography. Thank you.
I'm not claiming that I do. Thanks for your input. That was really useful.
Now tell us what you know about spatial coordinates.
Right, what's that got to do with declination and looking south?
Actually, I want to ask, what does the declaration or the declination have? What does the declination have to do with it?
Absolutely nothing.
It's to do with true
No.
north and magnetic north.
What declination does tells you that your south point, according to your compass, is not really south. What they tell you is your compass.
Anthony, we're not using the compass.
How are you going to get south then?
We're using the geographic south, not the compass.
Right, you haven't got a. Right, how are you going to prove that that's geographic south?
Because
you
Sigma
can wait until the
Octantis is
sun's
right above
north
it.
of you and your shadow's directly in front of you. Solar noon.
Solar noon, right. So you're going to claim that south, but how are you going to do that the rotation of the stars at night time when you've got solar noon at daytime is the opposing position to north?
To get your position and then you mark it on the Vicky, so you've got a reference point. Because if you can't rely on a compass because of the declination on that, so then you work it out beforehand, the day before, whatever, in the daytime.
Yeah, Anthony, guess what? Humans can figure this shit out. Flat earthers can't.
Right, listen. Let's deal with this slowly, right? The reason why declination is an issue.
Anthony, we don't need to go at your pace.
No, we do, because we're being this point is being obfuscated right now by Atheist Rex. Let's shut Atheist Rex up. Let me speak and then respond to what I say.
How
the
about
reason
you
why
respond to
declination
what
is
we
an issue.
say?
The reason why declination is an issue is because your compass is not pointing north when you're lining up south on your compass. Yes, you can argue that the sunrise, sunset, and whatever, but the problem is you've got to prove that your south is opposite to north, and you can't see north. The only reliable thing that you have is a compass, because you can't see north when you're at night time.
May I have a word? And finally,
yeah, exactly. But we can see east and west.
Oh, for fuck's sake! Can you guys even hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Anthony, you realize, as the other people already said, you can mark during the daytime when the sun is highest over the horizon, right?
Hang on a sec. I need to just check something. I've just had
Just
a message.
make your point. If you give him a chance to talk, that'll be the end of it.
Oh, right. So he's allowed a chance to talk, but I'm not. Is that how it works in here?
Saying just make your point because you will sidetrack. You know how you are.
If you listen back, Anthony, I think he's been speaking 99% of the
Well,
okay, so again, you realize that during daytime you can actually track the path of the sun, right? And you understand that the elevation angle will increase after sunrise, and at some point it will reach a maximum, then decrease again. Now the point where that is the maximum, that's called solar noon, and you can actually mark the direction from any given position on the planet to where that actually is. On the southern hemisphere, that's obviously due north, directly north. And if you mark the position during the daytime, you can check whether the angle towards that direction is 180 degrees on the opposite side towards the point of rotation during the night sky, thereby directly showing that if that angle is 180 degrees and solar noon with the maximum angle of the sun over the horizon is directly due north, therefore the point of rotation is directly due south, independent of whether you have a compass or not.
Sorry, I was reading somewhere.
Yeah, so you didn't listen. Thank you.
Yeah, nice and convenient.
No, I didn't listen. I'll be honest, I didn't listen to what you said. I'm sorry. I was reading something else that's kicking off in the background.
Okay, so I'll try to explain it again, but please do me a favor and listen this time. Okay?
Yeah, go on.
Okay. So when the sun rises, you see that per definition it's rising during the morning, right? The angle above the horizon will become bigger and bigger and bigger, and then at some point it will reach a maximum. And after that, it decreases again, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you're on the southern hemisphere, the direction in which that maximum is directly due north. Do you agree that that's the case? Okay.
Well, no, actually, no. That's what you call due north is actually the highest point of the sunrise. But the issue is, how are you going to prove that south is the antipode position to that?
By marking the position during the day, just ram a fucking stick into the ground, okay? And then take a second one and align that with the direction where the sun is during solar noon. Right? So you have a direct line between 2 points where the line is actually parallel to the direction which the sun is during solar noon. And then during nighttime, just go to the other stick, watch that line in the opposite point of rotation is directly above this line, thereby showing that when one is directly due north, the other one is directly due south.
All right, so where's this evidence that the stars are in the same position when this is done?
You're looking at them.
What do you mean?
You make an observation, and you have two observations. You can even have three, actually, because during certain times of the winter, you can actually view the same stars from Argentina, South Africa, and Western Australia. So you've got 5,000 plus 4,000, that's 9,600 miles of distance.
If I had the ability to share my screen, I could actually demonstrate it right now. It's nighttime in South Africa, and it's actually early morning in Western Australia. At both points, the sun is still below the horizon. You can see the same stars, only with a difference of 90 degrees rotation regarding the angle between the horizon and, the horizon rotation point, sigma octantis angle. That will be 90 degrees difference.
Plus the simple fact that the equator is the sun is 15 degrees of change. Now, if it was a flat map, it would obviously be a further distance than 69 miles as it is at the equator. Down in Australia at 32 degrees, it would be more like 95 miles.
Where's the evidence that the stars...
It's blatantly obvious, Anthony.
No, I understand the concept.
Research.
I'm asking for the evidence that the claim that's been presented is true.
That isn't
the evidence. That's an explanation. That's called a concept. It's a reification fallacy. If you're going to treat
do a concept and look at it and say to yourself, how can the Earth physically be bigger?
Riley, maybe you have an alternative that you want to present.
Where is the evidence that the stars at the night time are opposite?
Anthony. That is the evidence. And then
no, that isn't the evidence. That's an assertion.
And you can check longitude. That's longitude. Sorry, 1 hour. If you do 4 minutes, 1 minute. 4 minutes is 1 degree. So you can check that, and you can measure the distance between the two observers.
Where's the
And you'll
evidence
see
that
that-
this is true?
It
The
can
evidence-
be model in a sphere, Riley. You can maybe present an alternative or model of a flat Earth with the working rotation points in the stars, and that
I
would
just
be,
wanna
you
see
know,
that the
something, you know,
stars-
you'd be ahead.
I just want to see that the stars are opposite the North Point in the southern hemisphere, as claimed.
Well, if you can model it in another shape besides a sphere, you know, you can be considered, you know, probably. Yeah.
Well, we
Modeling
already
is
gave
not
you
gonna-
the methodology on how to do the experiment. If you want to fly
Right,
to
but
South
where's the proof
Australia
that it's
or wherever
true?
you
I'm
do
not
it.
interested in what you can do. I want to know that it's true. So do you have any evidence to support your assertion, or is it a baseless assertion based on logic?
No, actually, I
sorry,
know you're part of FE Court and there's a lot of money invested in it, but this is not about money. This is about truth. We don't care about money. We care about
Who
truth.
mentioned money?
I mentioned it because you're part of FE Court and they're there to make money.
Well, that makes it a straw man argument. Is there any evidence assertion on the table is true?
You hate the truth, don't you? You don't like the truth.
No, you guys hate the evidence. You just like the assertion.
If there was some evidence to hate, maybe I would, but there's no evidence. It's
Yeah,
not
that's my point, though, isn't it?
flat.
If there was some
Sorry,
evidence.
hold on. Are you talking about evidence for the stars in the night sky?
No, we're talking about evidence from the stars in the night sky lining up with high noon during the day and proving that they are opposite. Because that's the important thing.
Because everybody on the other side of the world does not see the stars change radically while it's daytime for everybody else. That's just the way it is.
According to
Stars.
declination
And guess
values
what?
for Africa
Guess
and
what? At
Australia,
the
they
same
do.
time,
No, sir, I must correct you.
No.
The declination values do not support your assertion
how do you know?
because declination exists. You're not looking due south.
Yeah.
You're looking somewhere else.
Oh yeah,
No,
and
you're
what
looking,
brings
you're
you to that
looking
conclusion?
to geographic south, not magnetic south.
Right, you
realize
claim
that,
it's
right? That the
geographic
magnetic
south,
north-
and you
Yeah,
claim
you
it's
already got
opposite
the
north.
magnetic
got
north
that way
pole.
wrong.
Right, but only in your concept or your model is this actually true.
Yeah,
If
and
you're
guess
gonna
what?
claim-
That's how the world works, Anthony. And our model works.
Yeah, but you guys have got to prove that the
Shouldn't
stars in the
exist,
south
but not.
are due south, and they're the same for both observers. That evidence
Yes, we already
doesn't
told
exist.
you.
Yeah,
We already
we're
told
just
you how
told
you
me,
can
but you
do
haven't
it.
proved. You've
You know
told
what?
me, but you haven't
So,
proved.
Anthony, we're talking about celestial south as well. That does not change. That does not change. I don't care how many times you turn around on the face of the earth.
Listen,
Celestial south
unless
will
you
never
can
change.
prove your assertion's true, it's just an
Yes,
assertion.
I can't prove my assertion.
Okay, so where's the evidence that the stars do what you say they do?
Star charts, thousands of years of them.
Right, but I want to see it relative to the other observer in Australia.
Why don't you just look it up online, Anthony? Do you not know how to do it?
It's not my assertion. Somebody came on and said somebody in Africa and Australia. I'd like to see that
the way the
evidence
world
that
works,
proves that
Anthony.
claim to be
Wait,
true.
wait, Anthony. What exactly do you want? Would you accept a video of two people filming this simultaneously? One in Africa
Well,
and one in
somebody
Australia?
came on and made a claim. I can't remember who it was, but somebody said an observer in Africa and an observer in
That was
Australia. when
me
looking-
actually.
Right, so I'd like to see that evidence, please.
Okay, I've already Skyped you about 4 weeks ago saying that I'll come on your show and show you Stellarium about the crescent moon and the gibbous moon that you were moaning about on another show a few weeks ago, saying it can't physically happen. I will show you
What's
the
that
moon
got to do
at
with
the
this
same
point?
time, and then I will show you the stars in the Stellarium.
What's that got to do? Right, all right. So basically, you haven't got any evidence
No, I've just told you I will show you.
on a model, Stellarium.
Yeah, what else can I do? I can't bloody physically transport you to Africa and then immediately to Australia at the same time.
No, but the problem is Stellarium is relative. You're looking at
Yeah,
that one place at that one time.
Anthony,
What I want to
this is
see
why
is
I'm
the
asking
real.
you. This is why I'm asking you
I'm-
what type of evidence you would accept. What type of evidence would you accept?
Well, the claim was by Skyfly Bry that an observer in Africa, when looking south, can see the same set of stars as an observer in Australia, and I know because of declination existing, that's not true. So
Yes,
I'd
so
like
what
to see
type
the
of-
evidence.
So what type of evidence would you accept for us to prove it to you?
Well, a time-lapse photograph, or a time-lapse photography showing, a long exposure photography showing due south and showing how you come to south, how you determine that it was south, and showing the same sets of stars just rotated in a different.
Bullshit.
Well,
And
that's what's
that's
needed on
been
a board.
broken down hundreds of times. And guess
Same
what?
central position.
You can find those videos right here on YouTube.
No Polaris
Okay,
has a fixed
so
position. in
can
the
we see
sky,
them then?
So you'll have to do exactly the
Yeah,
same.
but hang on, you have to do it simultaneously whilst both looking
Hey,
south.
Matt,
That's the issue.
Hey, master flat-chart researcher, why don't you look it up? Also, your
No,
assertion...
listen, let's be clear. You've got to have both
let me
observers
finish.
at the same time proving... Listen, listen. The assertion... No, stop, listen. The assertion is a guy in Africa and a guy in Australia. I'd like to see that that's actually true. So I'd like to see simultaneous observations of the night sky and prove that you are actually looking south.
Sailors used to navigate by the stars before they had compasses.
Let me give you the evidence right now. In 1,000 years, no one has ever looked south from those points and said, holy shit, the sky has changed.
Right, listen.
Not
You're not
once,
looking
not
south.
ever.
Listen,
Not
listen.
once,
You're
not
not
ever.
looking south. Listen
Anthony,
carefully.
now you think
You're
that
not
humans
looking
don't know
south.
which way is south. That's flat talk.
That's my point, not yours. That's my point.
Your qualities and your lackings on everybody else. Now, furthermore,
No, listen. My assertion is you've got no evidence to prove the claim's true, but not only that, you need to prove that you're looking south.
I can
And because
talk
of
all over you,
declination,
I can
I
talk
know
all
that you're
over
not
you
going to
all
be
day
looking
long. I've
south.
got nothing else to do but talk all over you. If you,
Actually,
now,
I don't think
so you've got nothing but to talk all over me.
I
Your
don't think you should
assertion,
do the PhD, Anthony,
your
because
denial
at
of
this
the
rate, you're not even going to pass the entry exam.
But even hang on,
I've got a conditional offer. What are you talking about?
Anthony, now your denial of reality implies that you've got some other model, some other map. That,
No, it doesn't. I'm pointing out. I'm not implying I've got
this woodwork on. Let me finish.
I'm pointing
So
out
what
to
other
everybody
model, what other
watching
map is there?
that the claim is
What
that
other
you've got
model, what
observers
other
in the
map is
south that see the same stars, but there's no evidence that that's actually true in real world. It's
you're
just
talking,
an
so you don't
assertion
have to answer the
without
question. You can
evidence.
talk all day long, Anthony. I've got nothing.
Hold up.
So basically, you don't want to have a conversation, then, do you?
Anthony, can I ask you a quick question?
Anthony, so what?
No,
on
not
what
really.
Map, on what map does your silliness work, Anthony? On what map
On
does
what
your
evidence
silliness
does
work?
your silliness work?
Okay.
On the globe model.
Real
period.
quick, we got a super
Now-
chat.
No, the globe model is not evidence.
Can we have quiet, please?
Yeah,
on the
guess
super
what?
chat?
It is, because it works.
Quiet for the super chat.
Yeah. Ash Scott donated £5, I think it is, and says a square has sides 1, 1, 1, and 1. What are the angles?
I mean, there's 69 degrees.
What was the question?
45 is the answer.
It says this: a square has sides 1, 1, 1, and 1. What are the angles?
Oh, it could be 90. I could be joking.
Come on, of course. That's a
No, but what you mean, Skyfly Bry, is you misheard the question and answered it wrongly. So is there going to
No,
be somebody out there now? Hang on. Is there going to be somebody out there now that takes that little sound snippet of Skyfly Bry getting it wrong and then doing a dramatic video about how he fucked it up? No, that only happens when somebody like me is having me tea and not really
Right.
paying attention about how stellar parallax is calculated using equilateral triangles, you fucking morons.
But you're never really paying attention, are you?
I was eating me tea, and we were talking about stellar parallax with equilateral triangles, and I'm like, what is this relevant for? But because it was cherry-picked and snipped out of context, it makes it daft. But if you listen carefully, you can hear my knife and fork. I'm eating me tea. I'm not that interested at the time. I'm eating me tea. And obviously,
What
a
difference
guy
does
of
that
my
make?
size is more interested in food than talking about triangles.
Flat Earth is
Your
all about
words,
excuses.
Riley. If you don't cherry pick, you don't win any debate. Thank you.
Those were
If
your
I
words.
don't do what?
So, Anthony, I have a question regarding something you guys brought up earlier. You asked on whether we could prove that the Earth is spinning. You realize that a few weeks ago, a bunch of flat earthers actually did that for us?
A bunch of flat earthers did what?
Prove that the Earth is rotating with 15 degrees per hour?
A bunch of flat earthers proved?
Yes.
They proved that the Earth was rotating?
Yes.
So prove means that means adhere to the scientific method, cause and effect. Are you sure you want to do this?
Yeah.
Okay. So how did they manipulate the independent variable to prove Earth turn?
The independent variable was the orientation of the gyroscope. When
So
the
that's not
gyroscope
proving Earth turn, is it? That's proving the orientation of the gyroscope. Your claim
no.
is that.
Wait.
Your claim
Stop.
is that Earth.
You
What did you
realize-
say? Did you think flat Earthers proved that the Earth turns?
Yes.
How? Right, and you're saying that the orientation of what did you say? The gyroscope.
Okay. So you
So,
realize
hang
how
on.
You realize how a ring laser gyro works, right? It only detects rotation at one of the three axes.
A ring laser gyroscope detect? No, right, all right, no, it doesn't. It detects light.
Yeah,
a ring laser, and it wasn't.
does. It only detects the rotation of the gyroscope in one of the three axes. That means if you align.
Do you mean a fiber optic gyro or a ring laser gyro?
Both, actually.
So are you talking about Bob from Globebusters?
Yes.
And you think that he proved Earth 10?
Yes.
So the independent variable in a scientific experiment is your presumed cause that the experimenter will manipulate. Did Bob from Globebusters do anything?
Yes.
What did Bob from Globebusters do?
I told you. A ring laser gyro only detects
No.
Let me speak. No. What
specifically?
Stop. If you want an answer, then let me give my fucking answer. Okay?
No.
Do you understand
What specifically did Bob do?
Basically, switched on the gyroscope.
Are you sure?
That's all you need to do. Yeah.
That wasn't Bob that did anything.
He said we, implying himself.
No,
if he says, quote, we are doing an experiment, that means I am in a group of people that is doing the experiment.
Right, so let's just be very clear. Bob did not do anything in this assertion. Somebody else did something.
It was Rick Sickerman. But
it was
Bob,
Rick Hummer.
Made it public.
It was Rick Hummer, as far as I'm aware. No, hang on.
Zimmerman, sorry.
Well, it doesn't matter who did what.
It doesn't matter. So, right, Bob didn't do anything. Let's just be clear. Somebody else may have done something. Now, did somebody else that was not Bob?
Let's put it this way. Bob was there to read the results.
No, Bob was not there to read the results. Bob read the
results were wrong. He did present the results during the documentary.
He presented
What do you mean? I don't. When you say he presented the results, what do you mean?
He was talking to the reporters. Rex, can I maybe have 5 minutes with the guy alone?
Let's just have a one-way conversation here. What's the claim?
Okay. So what happened was, during the documentary, he was having a dialogue with one of the producers or cameraman or whatever, and he said that they had done the experiment showing 15 degrees of Earth rotation using the ring laser gyro.
Citation, please.
Say that.
Citation, please.
Behind the curve, maybe 2/3 in.
Right, let's get that, because I've got that on a... Right, so I've got a copy of it on my bookmarker, so
I'll
find it.
It was filmed in 2017, actually, not 2000.
Right, so the claim is, let's just be clear, the claim by GeoStreber is that Bob claims that he proved that the Earth turns. That's what you just said. Is that right?
Yes.
That's why Nathan went off on him on that show and then done a rebuttal.
He said, let me paraphrase him. He said, we have detected with our ring laser gyro 15 degrees of rotation. And if we release this information to the public right now, it would be very bad for us. It would be bad. Therefore, please keep this information secret. End quote.
Right.
Well, not
so
quote,
Bob admits, and he has admitted ever since that he does.
Secret, he said confidential.
Listen. He does admit that there is 15 degrees of something rotating. The issue is what is rotating. The fiber optic gyro. Wait. The fiber optic gyro, which was what the apparatus in this observation was being used, that is detecting light. It's not detecting momentum. A mechanical gyro detects momentum. So if the fiber optic gyro was measuring Earth rotation, then the mechanical gyro will do the same. But
this is why I'm saying that it's important to understand that the ring laser gyro actually only detects one of the three axes. If you turn it by 90 degrees...
No. The ring laser gyro doesn't detect that.
For crying out loud.
No, listen, that's wrong. The ring laser gyro wasn't even being used. It was the fiber optic gyro.
And what that does is measure light. It was the ring laser gyro.
No, it wasn't. It was the fiber optic gyro. You're wrong.
No, I'm not. It was the ring laser gyro. It was the one
they
said they had acquired earlier for about $20,000.
No, you're wrong. It was the fiber optic gyro, not the ring laser gyro.
Prove that he's...
Again, Anthony.
They must have lied to the people.
The way that we know,
because they said ring laser gyro on
guys
Beyond the Curve.
We don't even need the
Anthony,
gyro. We just need to look at the sun and the moon.
The way that we know that it's the gyroscope rotating is when you turn it by 90 degrees. If you tilt it out of the axis, out of rotation, it won't detect any rotation anymore. This is why planes actually use 3 of them angled 90 degrees in all 3 directions towards one another to actually be able to detect the yaw, the roll, and whatever the third movement is called in English. You need actually 3 of them to detect all 3 motions, meaning if the gyro rotates in one of the axes which it's not made to detect the rotation in, you won't detect anything. And this actually shows that the rotation is the gyroscope itself, namely when it's aligned to the axis of rotation.
Right, for 3 things. All right, let's just be really clear on what the facts are. It wasn't Bob. It was Rick Hillman, as far as I'm aware. The second thing is, it wasn't a ring laser, it was a fiber optic. And the third thing is, when basically the claim is, you said that you cited his words to be that the Earth was turning. His actual words were, there was 15 degrees of movement, but then they clipped it. The rest of the sentence was, but they don't know what's moving. And then they put in the second bit, which says, but if they release that, the ballers will jump all over it. But the problem is, if it was true that the ring laser gyro or the fiber optic gyro was measuring Earth turn, the mechanical gyros would do the same because they do measure momentum, whereas the ring laser and the fiber optic measure light.
Why do you think we use ring laser gyros?
They didn't. They used fiber optic gyros.
Actually, no. Guys, if I'm wrong on this, if they did indeed use a fiber optic gyro, correct me. But I'm pretty sure it was a ring laser gyro.
All right, so let's see
what
what
ring laser.
It was initially a ring laser gyro, but they're trying to change it to a fiber optic one so they can make an excuse up saying they haven't detected
No. As far as I'm aware, they don't
That's
own
the
a
whole
ring laser
truth.
gyro.
That's the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
No, that's not true.
What they found, they don't want to release
They
it
have
to the
access
public
to a fiber optic gyro. If they
destroys
use
their
a ring laser,
money-making
hide it.
It destroys their money-making scheme to make money from the dumb flat Earth people.
No, they used a fiber. If they used a ring laser gyro at some point, it wasn't done for the purposes that you're claiming it was. And if you claim that it was, I'd like to see the citation. It was actually a fiber optic gyro, and it didn't measure momentum; it measured light.
Are you sure you want to stick to that claim?
Absolutely, you can quote me on it.
Okay, I will.
Actually, did you not bet Mark Taylor £1,000 that there was a solar eclipse every month about a year ago?
Did I?
2 years ago, I think.
Yeah, that Mark Taylor claims
that. Actually, you were wrong.
Well, hang on a minute. So you're saying that I'm wrong, right? Right. So let's do this again. There's a video on my channel that deals with this completely. Point is, if you're going to claim that the moon's on the eclipse path and it passes above or below the sun, then you're going to have to prove that the moon is actually in the picture. And nobody can do it apart from soundly with a little bit of magic earth shine that nobody else was able to replicate.
Actually,
hundreds of people trying to get it.
Rex,
very popular photographic
actually,
capture.
Anthony, actually, you showed that yourself. You cited a French astronomer by the name of Thierry Lejeune, who actually showed the crescent moon during the point of the new moon, being directly like 90 degrees towards.
Showing again. I'm talking about the point where it passes the sun, not the point where it finishes the new moon phase and becomes the beginning of the. It'll be the crescent moon, won't it? The waxing crescent. Is that?
Yeah, but that's the only time when a solar eclipse can happen.
Yeah, but Mark Taylor's claim is that the moon was on the eclipse path and therefore it passes above or below. But the problem is you can't prove that the moon's actually even in the picture.
When it's on the path of the ecliptic, when it's on the path of the ecliptic, you would actually get a solar eclipse, which is why this only can happen twice a year, because that's when the planes of the ecliptic and the plane of the orbit of the moon overlap, when the basically where all 3 celestial bodies, the Earth, the moon, and the sun, can be directly aligned. Otherwise, the moon will pass below or above the ecliptic. So if you're saying that solar eclipses, or if you say this guy claimed that a solar eclipse couldn't happen because the moon was directly on the ecliptic, then you are either misquoting him or he misspoke.
No, that's what he said. That was what the claim was, and I played it in my video. He said that it doesn't do that, Riley. It passes 5 degrees above or below, right? 2.5 degrees above or below. Problem is, unless he can prove that the moon's even in the sky, then it ain't there, is it? Which was my point.
Yeah, and you showed that the moon is in the sky by quoting Lejeune. And by the way, I just got a
No. Yeah. That's like a day and a half after the point where it's supposed to pass between the Earth and the sun.
Was it? I'm not sure actually. I think.
Yeah, Thierry Legault's picture is the first time you see the sun after the new moon. I'm talking about when it passes. Sorry, Thierry Legault shows the moon after it's passed. The first time you see it again. I'm talking about when it's supposed to pass between the Earth and the sun. All right, it's a little bit above or below. It's on the ecliptic plane, but there's no moon in the sky. Nobody can prove that the moon is physically there because it's not got enough light.
Stop! No! Stop! I can immediately debunk you. The record of Thierry Legault was taken on July 8th, 2013 at 7:14 UTC. This was exactly at the moment when the moon should be on the ecliptic if it was during the time of a solar eclipse. The age of this moon period was exactly 0 at this point. It says it on his website, and you can check the UTC time with, for example, Stellarium to make sure that it's correct.
But it can't be 0, can it? Otherwise, it would have a perfect. It would be 0 light on our side, 50% light on the other side.
You can actually measure the diameter of the moon using a solar eclipse.
That's the point, because it can be.
How can you measure the diameter of the moon using the solar eclipse if you don't know? Can you angular size?
Using Stellarium.
Listen, angular size is a sum, it's not a measurement.
Yeah, don't do that to me. You know that.
You can move on the ground. You can move your position.
No. Listen,
and you can say, okay, I'm at 4 degrees north latitude, and I just want 36 degrees.
You can't measure. You can't measure the diameter of the moon unless you know.
You can. I'll do a video about it.
No, you can't. It's called angular size. You need to know one of the other values.
You don't need to know anything. All you need to do is measure the distance.
Right, and how do you measure the distance?
With the laser reflective experiment.
40 degrees east to 80 degrees as an example, and that will give you the distance based on the latitude. Depends on the distance.
You can just ping it with the radar and get the distance.
Right, listen, gents, I'm going to have to go, but what I'm going to do is finish on this note. You guys claim that you can have 2 observers in the sky, but you can't prove it. You guys also claim that you can prove the Earth turns, and you can't prove it. Yeah, I'm somehow the one that's lying, but you guys can't prove your claims. Believe and tell people you can, and it's not true.
Hang out,
can you maybe stay 1 more minute?
I'll show you.
Anthony,
I'll stay 1 more minute.
Hang on, let me sum things up for just a moment. And Anthony claims that people, especially in the southern hemisphere, don't know which way south is. That what flat earthers used to predict, was used to predict solar eclipses, its past events, can't be used to predict where it is when it's a new moon. What else? What else can't people do that flat earthers apparently can?
Well, we can point out the holes in your problem. We can point out the holes in your claims because you guys can't prove the Earth turns. If you can prove Earth turns,
your entire claim is a hole. There's no there.
I've made any claims. I've just pointed out that you guys are talking with baseless assertions without proof.
Also, you make a lot of claims, Anthony. There's a whole fucking.
I haven't made a claim. I haven't made a claim. I've just said that you guys can't prove your claim.
An entire library of claims.
I haven't made any claims. I've just pointed out that you guys can't prove your argument.
Anyway, so how about people in the South who don't know which way south is?
No, wait,
how are you going to prove it's the opposite of north?
Anthony, do you see in Discord? Oh, fuck's sake. Anthony, do you see in Discord the comment that Mike just wrote into the side chat to this? The audio to this.
Right. So in that case, we're talking about 2 different events.
Yeah, Anthony, share the audio so we know that you know that we know that you heard it.
Actually, leave your mic open and just turn the volume up and press the play button.
Yeah, let's do it so that you can't lie about it in the future.
Well, hang on. Hang on.
It's the top video, Anthony, not the bottom.
Oh, wait, now it's all
Please
about
be quiet. Please be quiet.
Yeah, you guys, you really have to be quiet because the audio is very silent.
Called a ring laser gyroscope.
Yeah, don't cut it off now.
No, he does say ring laser gyroscope. Is this in relation to the 15 degrees?
Yes, this is the 15 degrees experiment.
Well, in that case, I stand corrected. I was of the understanding it was fiber optic. I was of the as far as I was aware, fiber optic gyro that did this experiment that Rick Zimmerman used.
Anthony, you're a part of the lie. That's it. Period.
Let me give it 30 seconds.
I've just corrected myself. As far as I was aware, it was the fog that was used.
Yeah, you corrected yourself in front of everybody because you had to.
Yeah, that's what you meant to do.
You were just perpetuating the lie.
Of course, all that aggro, it was all drama to distract from.
I want to recap in 1 sentence. Anthony Riley, a lot of questions, a lot of denial, and don't present anything in favor of flat Earth as an alternative. Thank you.
I haven't made any assertions.
That's another lie.
What assertion did I make?
You have an entire library of them. Let's just go through history.
Anyway, Anthony, there's no.
I haven't made any
flat
assertions.
That's an assertion.
Yeah.
I had to get that in there. Sorry.
Okay. There's one more thing.
So tomorrow, when you call in a fiber optic gyro again, who's going to be there to correct you? That you were apprised of the truth today. No, you're going to continue with that lie tomorrow, aren't you?
Right. My point still stands. The point that you guys are claiming that Bob proves the rotation of the Earth. Bob didn't do anything. Somebody else might have done something, but Bob didn't. Somebody else.
Bob within the
Earth
documentary gives.
Somebody else.
Then it's Bob's fault not making that clear, right?
Let's be clear. Listen, stop. Somebody else might have done something where he admits that there is a 15-degree rotation. The issue is what is rotating. He did not prove that the Earth is turning. He proved that something is turning, but we can already see with our eyes.
Where were they? Were they?
You realize, Anthony, that they also did say in the documentary that all the follow-up experiments, for example, packing the entire Link Razor gyro into a Faraday cage, for example, also showed the same result.
How about bismuth? Like that'll do.
Yeah, if that would make any difference, I'm still not understanding why they would use bismuth. That makes no sense whatsoever.
None near bismuth.
Oh God.
I need to drop, guys. Something else is happening. Guys, thank you for your time. I need to go.
Yeah.
Okay, see you,
really
Riley.
guys. Thank you very much.
Get your busted lying ass out of here.
He's just had a Skype message from FE Core saying, "Get off there before you completely fuck everything up."
He will call it a fiber optic fiber optic gyro again tomorrow, guaranteed.
We have him on audio. He's admitted he was wrong.
Do you think he gives a shit about his lies?
No, he lies so much he doesn't even remember.
So long as if he's got what he considers a somewhat new audience, he will go with the same old lie.
I remember when he really messed up earlier. Yeah, he used to be called Anthony Riley, which is his real name. He deleted that account and then started Sleeping Warrior.
By the way, if you still need one of his old videos under his old channel name, I have them all on my hard drive. Just saying.
That's super.
Dodo.
Yeah, it's like a 40 or 45 gigabyte database. So if you want them, I can send them to you.
I just want to say, Dodo, you can speak if you want.
Yeah, I'm speaking away, so if you can hear me, good.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hello, Pete.
Oh, no.
Nice. Okay.
So
I don't know about.
There's one thing I would have liked to talk about when Riley was still online. That's just 1 minute thing. Right in the beginning, remember he asked us whether there would be any citations on how scientific proof, in the sense of mathematic proof, actually doesn't exist. I actually took the time to actually look a bunch of them up. I got 2 quotes of Feynman, Russell, Einstein, and Popper. So they're basically saying that proof is pretty much impossible in science, in contrast to mathematics. The only thing you can do in science is basically determine probabilities. So, for example, let me quote Sir Karl Popper from his book *The Problem of Induction* from 1953. Quote: "In science, there's no knowledge in the sense in which Plato and Aristotle understood the world, in the sense which implies finality. In science, we never have sufficient reason for the belief that we have attained the truth. This means, furthermore, that we have no proofs in science, excepting, of course, pure mathematics and logic. In the empirical sciences, which alone can furnish us with the information about the world we live in, proofs do not occur if we mean by a proof an argument which establishes once and forever the truth of a theory." End quote.
We now have to prove that self is self.
You'd have to go back and have a big discussion about exactly what the word science means, and I think this is
well, no, we don't. This is like Anthony's tactic that he gets directly from quantum eraser where you get mired
he's come
in
up with a
the
new name.
semantics of the words so that you never, ever have to actually talk about things like evidence.
No, it's not. Hang on, that's a quote from you can be sure, a very long book and one of many. And you can be sure by the end of Popper's life, he didn't have the answer to life, the universe, and everything. Or at least,
42.
if he didn't know about Aristarchus, he certainly didn't.
Not the dodo
But
again.
no one suggested it. Yeah, no, we're not going to go into that.
Hang on, but well, the point is when you use a word like science, right? This is the same as any word, Rex. What means one thing to me will mean something different to you, possibly.
Yeah,
or necessarily.
well, that's the whole thing. There is a standardized meaning. And,
So when
there's
we're
a
dealing with
standardized
something
meaning, and we don't have time for flat Earth is obfuscated.
And we
something
also
that can never be said to be proven, even though the import. Hang on.
And we also got a few super chats.
Right, Brian, I'm making a good point, right? Because when we go past the point of you're being told that nothing can ever be proven in your existence, we can go by a sequence of probabilities and make a speculation, or informed speculation to the next possible outcome. But we can never prove anything. We can never absolutely prove a cause and effect. This gets back to our very basic questions ourselves as the inquirers, the nature of everything. So if nothing can ever be proven, no matter I'm going to finish. No matter your hardest and strongest endeavors, what's the point to it all? What's the point to asking questions? Well, this is where science, in its true and pure sense, comes into it. It's true search for a systematic methodology in the approach of any of these type weighty questions. And science has been hijacked, and we know it has, of course. And we have different definitions attributable to different phenomena, if you will. So this is the point of my question. No greater issue there.
Dodo, give me a few seconds because I've got a few super chats there, and I just realised that I've missed a few as well. So I'm just going to read them out, and then we'll get back to the. So Paul Reap, I think that's how you say it. He sent a $2 super chat a while back saying, "I love how flirts get so frustrated with facts," and that's sometimes true. The Snark says Riley asserts the Earth is flat, and then Paul Reap also says in a $5 super chat, "Loved the channel." So thanks, guys. Okay, back to the back to what you're saying.
It's funny the way flat earthers, flirfs, whatever, smurfs, flurfy. What does this mean? This means nothing, does it? We're all on an individual journey here. We all want the truth. Let's have it warts and all. For me, I've settled it a long time ago. When you get back to the basics, the initial question that we'd all ask if we were just planted here in the morning is, beyond the basic other questions, obviously survival questions, what's going on here? I can see something is moving. So we can determine out of three possibilities, maybe, what is the reality. Either the Earth is moving beneath us and everything above is stationary. The opposite way around, everything above is moving and what I'm standing on is stationary, or else a mix of the two. Can't see any other possibilities, if someone would like to enlighten me. So when we get back to these basics and that level of question, we can find absolutely no proof for the Earth beneath us to move. So if we take that as our starting point, something that we can be sure of, if we can be sure of anything in life, if we take that as our starting point, we end up in a completely different place. We don't even entertain the idea of a ball Earth beneath our feet because we know a different truth is in place, and that is the truth regarding water and the form it always takes under similar temperatures and pressures and circumstances.
But here's the
well,
thing.
There are two problems with this. First of all, you seem to imply false dichotomy here, right? Whether the Earth is spherical or whether it's flat is completely dependent on whether it's rotating or not. You do understand that?
No, I didn't mention that. I mentioned upon basic questioning, something is moving, Gio. We're on the ground. We know that. We can see around us. Something is moving. It's either whatever's going on above us, or else it's whatever's going on below us, or a mix of the two, right? This is the thing. But the one thing you'll find that Einstein, Newton, all the great brains never considered is if the Earth beneath us wasn't moving. They went into elaborate theories about everything beyond that basic point. The Earth has to be moving for all of it. So if we take it that the Earth isn't moving, then the ball does not even enter our thinking based on the universal behavior of water as we all know it under similar temperatures and pressures, and that is flat. You know, it maintains a flat level when still, I've often said it before, on the Earth that I live on, the flat, and it is, for me, eye-shaped. This is what Neil deGrasse Tyson meant when he said it's oblate spheroid. But what if you flatten out an oblate spheroid? You get something that's pretty eye-shaped, don't you, oval-shaped. But yeah, the biggest variation in sea level which is an absolute, Earth-wide, for me, is the highest variation in tides anywhere on Earth. And I think I was surprised to find 30 meters, which doesn't seem like much, but I guess it's 100 feet. So outside of any massive storms or anything, that's the highest, no matter where you go on Earth, in terms of open ocean, that's the highest variation you would find between any particular 2 points.
Well,
so you've raised the points. You've raised the point of tides. You are aware that tides are quite clear evidence that the Earth is orbiting through the solar system. If we do Fourier analysis of the tides over a long time, what we can uncover are signals of basically nearly all the planets in the solar system and their relative positions, and the amplitude of those signals actually relate to the distance between the Earth and those planets. I've been actually waiting to look into this a bit more because I do have a really nice data set that I can do some Fourier analysis on to show this. But we can see from the tidal levels that we can actually extrapolate from that the position of other planets in the solar system.
Or you could make a possible correlation. And that is very interesting if all that data is genuine. And let me tell you something briefly, and I hold this to be true, right? No matter what else, these are the things that you can hold to be true because the person you know who's telling you this has no ulterior motive whatsoever. Now, he told me this, he was a ship's navigator, right, for 30 years, something like that. All his life he spent at sea. And he thought the idea of a flat Earth was ridiculous, you know? So one thing he did tell me, in open water, all tides surge from the north. Isn't that very, very interesting? And of course, I'm a flat earther.
I mean, when you say you can't rely on anybody to tell you the truth, how do we know this story is true? That somebody actually told you this?
I'm talking about for myself and my own search for truth.
Yeah. Also, if the Earth was stationary, why are the oceans on the move at all?
This is the point. He said to me that all tides surge from the north. Now, I know that
the
north is at the center.
Coming from the north does not explain why they're moving.
Okay, Rex. There's something going on at the center that is
something going on
in the running and the operation of this planet.
Hold on. I will not take nebulous terms like something going on. What is going on?
For me, Aristarchus is located.
Okay, that's all the moon. We're not talking about Aristarchus.
Hang on, bud.
You think we can trust?
Aristarchus on the moon. Okay, Aristarchus on the moon.
No,
ties. We're talking about gravity.
You asked me a question. You can give me an answer.
Yeah, without we're not going to treaties of your. This is what your family threw you out of the house for.
You asked me a question, right?
Dude, your family abandoned you over this. Why do we have to keep up with you?
Hang on, man. People who might have heard of Aristarchus, it is described by your science as the most mysterious crater on the most mysterious.
Bullshit. Not described as mysterious at all.
Yeah, Sauce, please. In what way is it the most mysterious crater?
In what way is it mysterious at all?
Okay, I'll find you that source. Don't worry about that.
You never again, please repeat it. I didn't understand you.
A simple Google or YouTube search will find much interest shown in Aristarchus in terms of your science, right? Now, when we know that that's all nonsense and we live in a world of inversion.
Can you please do me a favor and cite any article that says that Aristarchus is in any way mysterious? End quote.
Okay, I will. Not now, dear, because I'm talking like I'm not.
You're not talking about Aristarchus now. Sorry.
Right, exactly. So I'll find you that. Let's just go with that for the minute. Yeah.
No, so we're not accepting that.
Whatever the moon is, hang on, man. Listen, remember doing that basic questioning. Whatever the moon, the sun, the stars are, we can agree that they're there. They're doing what they do in their pattern, right? And beyond that, what can we know, right? This is what I'm saying. When we're looking at the moon, Aristarchus is there in your model, and it's on Flat Earth model as well. But I know what the moon is. The moon is a reflection.
There are a lot of... No, there is. No, it isn't.
Reflection. Well, it is a reflection.
It is not.
And the moon is a reflection of something. What might be the same size in the sky, in the very local sky for us as the moon?
Rex, is your father
that's right, the sun. That's right, the sun and the moon are the same size. I know you might say there's variation.
We can look at the sun with solar filter, and it looks nothing like the moon.
Well, Rex,
I challenge you. Aristarchus is the beginning of the road to tranny world, so be careful.
And well, the mind that we can get back to that. Tyrannosaurus Rex. That was a brilliant name I gave you, Rex.
I don't know why everything that gets shot down you want to get back to sometime later. No, the moon is not a reflection of the sun. No, something is not happening at the North Pole. Everything you say is baseless. I mean, and it is useless to ask you. It is useless to ask. Why should I believe you? It is useless.
You're just making assertions, Rex. You can't back any of that up.
Everything appears to revolve around the North Star Polaris. Right?
No, it
What's
doesn't.
in the name Polaris?
No, it
Polaris
doesn't.
Star.
No, the universe does not revolve around Polaris. Another baseless assertion. It's simply positioned at our north. It is simply positioned at the North Celestial Pole. That's it.
Across the sky in unison. All that is the variable here.
Guess what? In 1,000 years, it'll be another star there. In
You realize
1,000
that
years, it'll be another star.
You realize that in the past there were other stars closer to the celestial pole than Polaris is right now, right? You do understand that that's the case. You do understand that that's the case, right?
In 1,000 years, it will be justified and proven correct.
Hang on, please. Okay, sorry, P. Mars. My point of view is, and it's well known, I talk about this on my own channel, this Earth is very young in its current form. And the sun, moon, and stars, everything we know as the luminaries and planets, these all came into being for me 420 years ago. And this is told through the story of the non-existent Dodover.
Yeah,
That's my story.
Really, guys, do we need to listen to this?
That I don't hold to thousands and millions and billions of years to Earth. I don't even hold to many hundreds.
For all the noobs in the audience who haven't heard this, and knock yourself.
So just for information, about 5,000 years ago.
You'll never fucking hear Rex.
Oh, for fuck's sake! For the audience, about 5,000 years ago, the star Thuban was actually the pole star on the northern hemisphere, and in 12,000 years, Vega will replace Polaris.
Pete Shea is the star, Rex. You ain't a fucking star, Rex. You're just an errand boy.
Pete Shea, tell us how we are all agents and put in place. Go ahead. Tell us how we are all agents and put in place. Go ahead. We would like to hear about that.
They're all actors. Pete Shea is the only one been telling the truth that all these people are actors in this community.
Yeah,
we all know that because this is P. Mars.
Guys, this is P. Mars.
Yeah, then I have to go. I don't want to be in the same server as a pawn bomber.
Oh yeah, well that's good because I don't like child molesters.
Oof.
Turn sour. That's
yeah.
fine.
Yeah, like, I did have to actually kick P. Mars a while back.
Why would you do that?
Because he was posting. He spammed quite a few images in the chat, so I kicked him earlier. So yeah.
That's rude.
Fortunately, I can.
Well, dude, he's back.
Yeah. As long as he doesn't do anything too bad again, then it shouldn't be a problem.
I've reformed.
Yeah, no, this is one of Science's predictions. He will misbehave.
And if he does misbehave again, then he'll be banned.
You can't get into any of these type of conversations too deeply because it doesn't merit it. People like Rex here are happy to spend years of their lives having the same arguments again and again with the same passion, not getting anywhere really. Bringing everyone, but hang on, Rex, you're bringing everyone you're talking to back to a point that they left already behind.
I ask you to be specific, to elaborate. You cannot.
Of course, I can speak for ages on this, man.
If it has no specificity, it has no place in science. This is just your feeble. This is your fevered
Forget about
mind.
science. Science all stems from inquiry. The mind has to do the thinking first, Rex. Then you can formulate into a certain thing. But if something is true, it's true.
Well, it's not true, apparently. If you can't back it up, it's not true. The thing about truth is it has the incredible, uncanny ability to present evidence for itself. You cannot you cannot do that.
I can tell you that's something that's 100% true.
The thing about truth always has evidence. Here we just have
100%.
Here we just have your say so. And when I ask why we should believe you, you know, the next when I ask the question, why? Hey, can I finish? When I ask why should I believe you, the next words out of your mouth should be because I have evidence, and it never is.
loads of evidence for what I say, but you want me to sum it up while being interrupted every
No, I'd like
sentence?
you to show. I mean, look, Pete, we've been
Story,
through
Rex.
the fucking mill of your so-called evidence.
Rex, you have to hear the story first. I mean, what do you require? Graphic
I do
evidence,
not.
videos?
Pete Shea, I heard the story 3 years ago. It hasn't changed. Your family threw you out because of this story. So I don't see why we should.
No, well, I only found the significance of Aristarchus in the last year, Rex. So that's not true. But regarding my own story, of course, I have a personal history.
A sign of mental infirmity is unaware of the passage of time.
I was just going to say to you one thing that you can be 100% sure of is the course of events that took you from your bed this morning to the point where you are now, wherever you're at, talking to me. That's 100% true, and nothing can change that, right?
I'm sorry, what? I missed that. I was blowing it. I'm having a sick day today. That's why I'm a little raspy. So I'm staying home, and I've got nothing to entertain me but you morons.
One thing that I do want to say to Dodo is, let's say we do have a different starting point, right? So let's say you have the starting point of the Earth is stationary, and then you come up with, then you'd make a whole lot of observations. The difference between that and having the starting point that the Earth isn't stationary, or having a starting point that nothing can be proven to be true, is that if you keep with that starting point of the Earth is stationary, you eventually reach a brick wall. Like, if you were to try and explain things like Bob Noodle's 15-degree gyro drift, then you get a whole lot of problems when you're trying to explain that.
I mean, what problems? I mean, you're going to have more problems if you're going to say that that categorically proves that the Earth beneath was moving. This is nonsense. And, you know, this is just one result. So something appears to be moving, but we can all agree that something appears to be moving. This goes back to our basic questions. What is it, though? Is it the ground beneath us? Is it the sky above us, which we take as a whole? Or is it a combination of both? Now, whatever it is, and I don't think it had anything to do, and the name of the guy was called Rick Zimmerman, which sounds like a sort of made-up name to me. I don't trust any of these people. I think it's all drama on both sides. I think, meanwhile, you as the individual aren't asking the right questions, as if this doesn't concern you. You know, there are genuine people around, and I'm just saying to anyone, if you go back to basics, I could ask you a very difficult question. Why can't the Earth be flat and stationary? You're going to have to start invoking all of these things that you have no personal experience with, and you'll fumble before your audience, whoever you're trying to convince or persuade or, you know, force in one sense to stay where they've already been for all their lives. So, you know, it's when you go back and ask the basic questions, these become the most difficult ones. And you've got to decide yourself, if you're looking for answers in your own life, what's your solid starting point? What's your foundation that you can build strongly upon? And, well, when you're asking questions about the Earth, have you ever felt movement of the Earth beneath you? That's a good, that's not a proof.
Yes.
But it's
Hey, have you ever been drunk? Maybe when you're drunk, your brain attunes itself to the movement of the Earth and you start wobbling.
But maybe, Rex.
I guarantee you, you'll be using that next year.
Okay, Dodo, I do want to give a few answers. My starting point is that I exist, right? And the reason why I use that as a starting point is because there's no way that I could really prove that I don't exist, and there's no way that I could prove that I actually do exist. I can't prove that I'm not a brain in a vat. So I think that's a good place to start from. From that, I do have to take some people's words for things, because otherwise I would be really dumb. Imagine having to prove everything yourself, right? So you do have to take a few other people's words for it. But when it comes to multiple people saying the same thing, then that lends credence to that thing. So if I have five people saying that the Earth is flat, and then I have 1,000 people that are proving that the Earth is a globe, then that leads more credence to the Earth being a globe. And if I have people, I haven't done a gyro test myself, but there's been flat earthers that have done gyro tests. There's been globe earthers that have done gyro tests, and they've given the same results.
Yeah, that's not true though. That's argumentum ad populum. You like all it takes is one person who has an experiment that shows results to be right about something. It doesn't matter how many people agree.
Well, it's funny, isn't it, that for the most part, any globe earther I've met, I've got to be sort of an honest one, you know, who's asking the honest, basic questions. But anyone I meet for the most part is an anti-conspiracy crew member. So any conspiracies that are perfectly plainly and clearly obvious to us dumb flat earthers, they seem to have passed over their heads completely. It's as if everyone is acting in unison, you know. So as I say, it's always getting back to the individual. It doesn't matter what. This is just some people talking, man. But these are the basic questions in our lives, you know. And it comes back to ultimately the nature of us. And if I was to expand on Aristarchus, I would say you cannot separate the external from the internal. This Earth is a living thing, and it's a very intricate and intimate part of us as well. This is what all of these symbolisms have their part to play. You know, the story can't be told to you literally. You have to work it out. If you're working it out, then you'll be able to see the significance in it. But it all points back to the same thing. Jesus, for instance, is the sun, but the sun is Aristarchus, and Aristarchus is within us. You know, which does mean something different again, but that's for you as the individual to explore. The thing about the globe earth and the heliocentric model and the Big Bang model, all these names are chosen specifically as well. Again, we don't take the literal, we get lost in the literal. But all of these things lead you to nihilism, lead you into absolute.
Oh, for the love of God, wrap it up.
Hang on a second, I was there, you see. Let me just finish the sentiment, because I was a science man. I studied in university, had an interest in physics, all that sort of stuff. But what it does lead you is inexorably towards nihilism, in a sense, where there's no ultimate purpose, right? Everything came from a meaningless beginning or unknowable beginning, and we evolved then from pretty much nothing. So there was no ultimate significance, and the greatest thing you could hope to achieve in life is significance within that short period of time. Now, when you come to a flat Earth, away from the globe Earth or heliocentric model, then you realize, well, there's a much greater personal significance to all of this. And I think ultimately that's the point.
Okay.
Sorry for walking.
Okay, I'm going to have to.
Well said.
I'm going to have to argue that your points around nihilism. I just want to paint a picture for you, because this is what science tells us: is that there was a Big Bang. That, you know, the universe is expanding, and the universe is massive. There are lots of stars. There are lots of planets out there. There is an amazing thing, and we are a small part, but we are the only evidence that the universe is self-aware. This is completely opposite to being nihilistic. This shows us actually that we are special. And so if you want to take... Sorry, yeah, go on.
I was just going to say, so first off, whether or not there is meaning to the universe, that doesn't impact what's true about the universe. So what you make of, you know, it's like Ben Shapiro always says, and I don't like to quote Ben Shapiro, but as Ben Shapiro says, facts don't care about your feelings. But then again, when it comes to meaning, and to expand on what AB Science is saying, I find it more meaningful if I come up with a meaning for my life rather than it being predetermined by something like a god. And so if I'm responsible for me. Yeah, so I'm responsible for what I do. And if I want to say, oh, my meaning is to spread science, I can make that my meaning, rather than my meaning being predetermined by someone saying, oh, your meaning is to spread my word, right? So that's far more meaningful for me.
What have your thoughts got to do with the truth? I mean, I used to say there was two things in life. There's only one thing in life, and that's the truth, right? Because even the lie is based on the truth. Your thoughts got to do with the truth. Something is either true or it's not. Now, if you find more meaning, that's maybe just your point of view in life now. You might be a young man. You might have, had your own certain path that led you down to this way and finding this more challenging, but I guarantee you, ultimately, it'll go back to the same thing. You'll be looking for a deeper meaning. Science is good in mathematics, it's in clear, concise terms. There's more to life than that, man. The fact that we can sit here and have a conversation and understand each other from many, many miles apart, this tells us there's much more to us. Because we are the composers of all of these things, all of these technologies, than, science has us believe anyway. Everything randomly generated.
And
so, everyone's at their own stage in life, and I don't think you will ever be able to say that. Getting to the truth, this is what it's all about, isn't it? The search for truth. So when you say science says, you shouldn't say science says anything. Science is not one sort of all-knowing Wizard of Oz deeming absolute and genuine truth. We know that the whole arena is corrupted. So how are you going to factor that into your consideration? If your wife is cheating on you for 30 years, every Tuesday you think she's going to meet your friend, but she's going to fuck your mate at the gym and you never found out about it. When you find out about it and you patch things up, when she starts going out at Tuesday again, what are you going to say? Well, we patched things up, it never happened again. No, that's not you know what I mean? So this is reality. So we have to, if we're out on a genuine search ourselves, because there's nothing more meaningful, is there, than a personal truth, then we have to take all of these factors into consideration. And when we're told in books like the Bible, which are true, but not in a literal sense, like any of these stories, 9/11 is true, but not in a literal sense. The globe earth is true, but not in a literal sense. The bite out of the apple is true, but not in a literal sense. You then have to apply it when you reach a certain point of, I think it's realization. We're being led down this path, We were handed flat earth on the plate. And I've been saying this, I've been what you might consider a flat earther since 2013, after due consideration, right? And I realized that's the start.
Pete, let other people
talk. This is the start.
Yeah, can I interject here?
Yeah.
Regardless of whether... regardless of what you think is true, there are facts, right? And I could be wrong about the facts, and it could be that there is a deeper meaning to life than what I think. But I think that being able to create your own meaning, at least for me, is far more meaningful than being able to than being predetermined to do something. Like, it is very amazing that we can sit here and have a conversation from other sides of the world, and this wasn't achieved by people saying. This wasn't achieved by people just sitting there and going, "Oh, life is amazing." This was achieved by people going out and learning about the universe and learning the facts about the universe. It wasn't achieved just by people's feelings. Sure, there was probably a bit of feelings going into it. People probably thought, "Oh, if I can talk to someone on the other end of this will be amazing." That was probably the extent to which they had their feelings involved. The most part of it was
you missed my point on that one, man. My point on that one was that we were the individuals having the conversation, which we could understand these, you might call them complex thoughts. This is the more amazing thing. All of this technology comes from our thoughts. So this is what I'm saying, that everything ultimately will come back to us and our place in its much smaller, much more significant reality. So continue on, bud. That's what I was saying there.
Well, essentially,
I think there's
what were you about to say?
Well, I mean, I was gonna go with something about a little bit different. If you want to finish, I guess.
I'll just finish off what I was saying here. Essentially, I was just saying that it's all like science has our application of science has I actually have lost most of my train of thought. Damn. But yeah, to sum up, most of our science has led us to understanding and to be able to create things. And, a lot of people do find meaning in making things better for other people. And whether that was determined by a higher power or them, it doesn't really matter. What matters most is that they have found more meaning in that for themselves.
Yeah, well, this is where, sorry, P. Marza, but I know you'd agree here. This is where all of this technology and all this ability to communicate is probably doing us more harm than good. and we're losing touch with what matters and what counts in reality. You know what I mean? So that's a different story. But yeah, you have set in your brain, I guess, a fixed history to your kind, and you've accepted the evolutionary model, and this is the truth as best as man can say, as the best of minds can say. Whereas me, I held the same held the same thought. These people were beyond question. When you look into things, then as we were led by the nose to look into, starting off, I guess the biggest one was 9/11 conspiracy. You know, but JFK was before that. That made it to the mainstream.
This is kind of what I wanted to get into, Pete, was that, like, I think there's a huge communication problem between the atheists, debunkers, and the flat earthers. And I try to explain this to the atheist people, but I get called a porn bomber. But the reality is we are being lied to, and the flat earthers have some understanding of this, even though I'm not a flat earther. But like, until the atheist debunker people understand how the system works and we're being lied to, indoctrinated, and manipulated, I don't think they're not going to be able to really have a communication or understanding with the flat earthers. And just telling them about science isn't going to do any good, because they understand that we live in a scientific dictatorship. So I think that's where, like, the communication breakdown takes place, was right there.
What's the point of having all of these thoughts, P. Mars? What's the point of reading all the books that you read and coming to all of these realizations? Of course, I know you know well the Earth is flat and stationary.
Well, I read these books so when I talk to these people, I can cite my sources and back up my claims.
No, but doesn't it just torment the individual, isolate the individual, and ultimately will it kill the individual? I think it has to. Because how can you possibly live in a world?
Dodo, take a break. Take a break, Dodo. P-Mars, how is it a scientific dictatorship? Anyone can participate.
Because it's politically driven. Corporations fund money.
If anybody can participate, you're not. Are you suddenly bound by some other principles as soon as you decide to enter the world of science? Do you suddenly have to give up your standards? Do you suddenly have to give anything up? Have you tried? You're not speaking from experience.
I've read books.
You've read nothing.
I have a neighbor who's
what have
a
you read that would lead
scientist,
you to
and
this?
he
What have you read that would lead you to this conclusion?
Well, there's the Anglo-American Establishment by Carol Quigley, and he wrote also Tragedy and Hope.
Excellent.
Yeah, Carol Quigley. He was a professor of history at Georgetown. He was Bill Clinton's favorite professor. He was a historian for the Council on Foreign Relations.
Oh, wait a second. Oh, is that which Carol Quigley is that? But anyway, how is it a dictatorship? First, let's get that
Bertrand Russell. Okay, well, Bertrand Russell and Aldous Huxley.
How is it a dictatorship? I don't want to hear about Bertrand Russell. How do you think it's a dictatorship?
I mean, I'm trying to answer it, and you're just talking all over me.
Yeah, give him space. Give him space.
Yeah, how do you think it's a dictatorship? It's that simple. Don't tell me about Bertrand Russell. How do you think it's a dictatorship?
Well, I read Bertrand Russell and Aldous Huxley lectures talking about their view of the future, of how they described how
in your mind,
in a free society it could be controlled by a scientific dictatorship.
And is it? And is it?
I believe
That's how everybody asked you to let him talk, and then you didn't.
How about you be quiet while I grill this little asshole?
No, thank you.
Why are you trying to grill me? Why are you trying? Why are you so angry?
Because we've had this discussion. We had this discussion 4 years ago. You haven't changed.
No, we didn't. I got blacklisted and silenced, and you ran away from me. You want to talk? No. You want to talk to flat Earth? No, you want to talk to flat Earthers all day. You don't want to talk to people who read books. You want to talk to Pete.
You don't read books, my friend.
And you want to call me a porn bomber because
That's an assertion.
We call you a porn bomber because you're a porn bomber.
Where's your citation or source or evidence that I'm a porn bomber?
You know you're a porn bomber. You know it. Now shut up.
No one has ever proven or provided it. So they did a stream, Red's Rhetoric and these clowns did a stream to prove that I'm. Their evidence that I was a porn bomber was a ranty flat Earth video. Your evidence that I'm a porn bomber was a ranty flat Earth video. So you spend your whole life.
Okay, you know what?
You spend your whole life on YouTube debunking ranty, and then you use ranty to support you. You guys are completely biased.
Now show us how science is a dictatorship.
indoctrinated and dumb, and this is why flat earthers don't listen to you, because you can't even see simple facts. Like
Flat earthers don't
fact,
listen because they're imbeciles.
Elements within the government and military were responsible for 9/11 and not Osama bin Laden.
Elements.
Hey, PMars.
Elements.
This
elements in the government.
The question, PMars.
I remember
the question
a
was
moment where PMars was allowed to speak without the other guy speaking over him.
He can answer the question.
He's just frustrated because he's black and homosexual.
He's talking about porn
so
bombing
I understand
now.
why he's really angry.
He's talking about porn bombing now. We were talking about the scientific dictatorship.
What do you find being worse, black or gay? What do you get more crap for?
PMars. It's worse being PMars.
Can I point out how dishonest this guy is?
I think it's the midget aspect of Rex as being.
You're the one who brought up the
approximately
issue
gay
of porn
aspect.
bombing because you called him a porn bomber. So then
I
he
did not
defended
call him a porn
that
bomber.
assertion. Yes, you did.
You
Now you're lying. So you're just like a flat earther. You know what? You are a flat earther. From now on,
You're really elevating the conversation.
because he argues
Really
like a flat
elevated the
earther.
conversation.
Talks over people. He makes assertions that he doesn't have evidence for.
I never said he was a porn
And he
bomber.
denies things that he said.
Wow. Channel Q, you used to be a flat earther. You know that.
No, I didn't. I was
Yes,
never
you
a
did.
flat earther.
Yes,
No, I was not. No, I wasn't.
You were like
That's
fuck
not
buddies
true.
with Matt Powerland.
No, I wasn't. These are all lies you're telling.
Bullshit. You yourself said.
No, I never said anything like that.
Well, you're not any saner, so what am I supposed to do about it?
I think that you're a flat earther, dude. I think you're on the same level.
So, but guess what? What you think does not really amount to a hill of shit.
Well, I
Don't
think
go heads, loggerheads.
I think that
Excellent.
maybe
okay. This
you
is
can't argue any better than a flat earther.
this discussion has really just devolved at this point. So
Yeah, thank you.
I'm gonna wrap up
Thank
I'm gonna wrap up the stream
Yeah.
because this has just devolved into yeah. So I'm just going
You
to.
have to blame the globe earthers for that, man. You have to blame the globe earthers here for that. I mean, everything's going grand.
Oh, bullshit. I asked PMars to explain his scientific dictatorship, and he couldn't.
Because you were talking over him the whole time.
All right.
Because he was going to...
So, yeah, I'm just going to read out any super chats that I've missed. And one of them that I did miss is the Snark says, ban PMars, be sensible. And I am actually considering banning PMars for some of his remarks. I am seriously considering do that. But anyway, let me just go to the outro. Leave a like and subscribe if you like that stream. I will probably do this in the future, but I'll make sure it's much better organized. I'll try and make sure that when it comes to things, if I do this again, I'll try and make sure that there's a limit of people that can join, and if too many globe earthers join, I'll probably kick a few out and let a few flat earthers in. This is just so that we don't get overwhelmed with people trying to talk over each other. So yeah, this was interesting though. So yeah, I don't know if there's anything else to really say. I'll see you in the next video. Between you and me, thank you for watching.